Resilience in Adventure Time appears in many forms, and it does not rely on dramatic speeches or sweeping victories. It lives in quiet perseverance, in characters who continue moving forward, even when faced with doubt, heartbreak, or uncertainty. Ooh is a world born from catastrophe and rebuilt through the imagination and determination of those who inhabit it. In that world, resilience becomes a way of life, a steady current beneath every story. The characters do not simply endure hardship, they adapt to it, transform through it, and find meaning in the spaces where life refuses to collapse. To understand what Adventure Time teaches about resilience, it helps to begin with the land itself, because Ooh is a place where endurance is woven into everything that grows, walks, or remembers. Ooh stands on the remnants of a world that once looked like ours. The ruins scattered across plains, forests, and buried caverns are reminders of a distant disaster that reshaped everything. Tower skeletons rise from overgrown landscapes, mechanical fragments lie embedded in hillsides, and abandoned human structures sit quietly while new creatures build lives around and within them. Rather than presenting these ruins as tragic relics, the series treats them as foundations of a new era. Life enters the abandoned spaces, magic fills the voids left behind, and new societies rise from what could have remained sterile wreckage. Resilience shows itself in the transformation of the land. Nature and magic collaborate to reclaim what was broken, turning destruction into fertile ground for new stories. The people of Ooh are shaped by this environment. Many of them live without any direct memory of the past. They accept the world as it is, not as something that should have stayed the same. This acceptance creates a natural resilience. The world they know is unpredictable and strange, so they learn to embrace change rather than resist it. Creatures live in candy kingdoms, tree houses, caves, clouds, and ancient ruins because these places have become part of the fabric of everyday life. Even the bizarre dangers of the land become familiar challenges to navigate. The world teaches its inhabitants that survival requires flexibility, patience, and the willingness to trust in the future, even when the past is unclear. Finn represents one of the clearest examples of resilience through growth. His journey begins with a straightforward desire to help others. He rushes into situations believing he can fix whatever is broken or protect whoever is in danger. This early optimism is genuine, rooted in compassion and an eagerness to bring good into the world. As Finn ages, he encounters situations that test his beliefs. He discovers that not every crisis can be solved through strength or enthusiasm. Some conflicts require understanding rather than force. Others require acceptance of outcomes that cannot be controlled. Finn faces heartbreak and disappointment, and he learns from them without letting the weight of those experiences silence his spirit. His resilience lies in his willingness to evolve with each challenge. Instead of becoming cynical, he becomes more thoughtful, more observant, and more attuned to the complexities of relationships and responsibility. Finn does not lose his kindness, he deepens it. Princess Bubblegum carries another kind of resilience. Her life is shaped by long years of leadership, creation, and responsibility. She oversees a kingdom that relies heavily on her judgment, creativity, and scientific knowledge. The Candy Kingdom faces threats ranging from magical invasions to internal instability, and PB must continuously adapt to these challenges. Her resilience comes through her ability to rebuild, to innovate, and to keep moving forward even when she confronts the consequences of her own actions. Unlike Finn, PB's resilience is often intellectual. She must make hard decisions, some of which strain her relationships or weigh heavily on her conscience. Yet she continues to pursue the safety and well-being of her people with determination. Over time, she learns to share responsibilities and to trust others, discovering that resilience also includes the courage to open herself to help. Marceline reveals a deeper emotional endurance. She has lived through the collapse of the old world and the rise of the new one. Her long life carries memories that few others can comprehend. Marceline's childhood was marked by loss, survival, and loneliness, and these early experiences shaped her complex personality. Despite her immortality, she feels the full impact of emotional pain. Her resilience comes from her ability to carry those memories without letting them freeze her heart. She expresses her feelings through music, through humor, and through the small connections she builds with others. She does not hide her vulnerabilities, yet she refuses to let them consume her. Over time, she reshapes her relationships, learning to trust again, to forgive, and to allow love into her life. Marceline demonstrates that resilience is not the absence of pain, it is the decision to live with pain and still seek joy. Jake embodies a different form of resilience, one rooted in flexibility and acceptance. His magical abilities allow him to stretch, expand, compress, and contort in ways that mirror his worldview. He approaches life with curiosity and improvisation rather than rigid plans. Where others might become overwhelmed by unpredictable situations, Jake flows with them. His resilience comes from his trust in the natural unfolding of events, his belief that things will work out, and his commitment to keeping the people he loves close. Over time, Jake matures. His responsibilities shift as he becomes a partner and father. These new roles challenge him to balance his carefree nature with the demands of raising a family. Even then, his resilience remains tied to his ability to adapt, to find comfort in uncertainty, and to move forward with quiet confidence. BMO contributes a unique perspective on resilience. As a living machine designed for specific functions, BMO still chooses to craft an identity beyond those initial purposes. Through creative play, storytelling, and imagination, BMO interacts with the world in ways that help process emotions, understand relationships, and build meaning. When faced with loneliness or confusion, BMO turns inward to create worlds of play that offer comfort and clarity. For BMO, resilience is expressed through the power of imagination. Instead of resisting instability, BMO builds joyful narratives that make the world feel alive and welcoming. These internal stories are not escapes, they are tools for navigating reality. BMO shows that resilience can be playful, inventive, and rooted in self-acceptance. Simon Petrikov carries the most fragile form of resilience, shaped by long suffering and profound love. His struggle with the crown leaves lasting scars that persist even after he regains his true self. He emerges from that experience with fractured memories and the weight of actions he cannot fully reconcile. His resilience is not about overcoming the crown's influence, because some wounds cannot be undone. Instead, his resilience lies in his continued attempt to rebuild his life and sense of identity. Simon moves through a world that remembers him in two very different ways, as the person he was and the figure he became. He learns to exist in the spaces between these identities, seeking connection while grappling with emptiness. Resilience for Simon means choosing to keep living even when the path forward feels uncertain. Flame Princess illustrates resilience through transformation. She inherits a legacy of instability and destruction, shaped by a volatile environment and the expectations of those around her. As she grows, she reevaluates her identity, her power, and her place in the world. She learns to direct her fire with intention rather than impulse. Her journey shows that resilience often involves redefining oneself, choosing growth rather than accepting the limits imposed by others. By stepping away from the patterns that once controlled her life, Flame Princess charts a new direction that reflects her autonomy and strength. Peppermint Butler demonstrates resilience through devotion to knowledge and discipline. Her path involves ancient practices, dangerous rituals, and the pursuit of mastery. She maintains stability through meticulous preparation and deep understanding of magical forces. Her resilience is the result of constant learning, constant vigilance, and the acceptance of consequences that accompany her pursuits. Although her relationship to magic places her in precarious situations, she approaches each challenge with calm determination. Even characters who appear small within the broader narrative reveal important aspects of resilience. Huntress Wizard explores mastery of nature while navigating her own guarded personality. She endures through precision, patience, and a commitment to understanding her connection to the world. Tree Trunks reveals resilience through optimism, consistently choosing kindness and joy even in moments of danger or uncertainty. Lumpy Space Princess exhibits resilience through stubborn confidence, refusing to be shaped by the negative expectations of others. Their resilience may not look like heroism, but it reflects real methods of coping with life's challenges. Across OO, resilience is tied to community as much as individual strength. Characters rely on each other during conflicts, celebrate together during peaceful moments, and rebuild together after loss. Even when they disagree or become separated, they maintain bonds that support them through difficult times. The relationship between PB and Marceline shows resilience through reconciliation, healing old wounds, and rebuilding trust. Finn and Jake embody resilience through companionship, supporting each other as they face danger and change. These relationships provide the foundation for enduring hardship and emerging stronger from it. The world's cycles of destruction and renewal reinforce the idea that resilience is not static. Change is constant in OO. Kingdoms shift, magic evolves, and personal journeys spiral rather than move in straight lines. The characters adapt because the world demands it. This adaptation is not portrayed as defeat, but as a natural part of existence. Through these cycles, Adventure Time teaches that resilience involves accepting impermanence and trusting that renewal will follow loss. Even cosmic or abstract forces illuminate the nature of resilience. The multiverse introduces possibilities where characters face alternate versions of themselves or worlds shaped by different decisions. These alternate realities highlight how choices influence resilience, how different paths create different strengths or struggles. Through cosmological journeys, characters gain perspective on their lives and develop a clearer understanding of what it means to endure. Resilience in Adventure Time is not limited to those who overcome hardships. It includes those who continue living with their injuries, those who carry memories without letting them define their present, and those who rebuild themselves after fracture. It appears in characters who confront ancient traumas, modern fears, or internal conflicts. It grows in friendships, families, and communities. It thrives in the willingness to see beauty in a world that was once destroyed, and in the determination to keep reaching toward the future with curiosity and hope. In OO, resilience is an ongoing process, not a final achievement. It involves constant learning, constant transformation, and constant acceptance of change. The characters do not succeed because they are invincible. They succeed because they allow themselves to grow, because they seek support from others, and because they acknowledge their vulnerabilities while refusing to let those vulnerabilities close their hearts. Change is one of the most constant forces in Adventure Time. and it shapes the resilience of every character, kingdom, and creature that inhabits U. The world itself seems designed to shift beneath one's feet, sometimes gently and sometimes violently. Landscapes transform, alliances evolve, identities blur, and the past leaves behind echoes that never fully disappear. In this environment, resilience does not come from resisting change, but from learning to move with it. Each being in U must adapt to the impermanent nature of life, and through this adaptation, they reveal how resilience grows in the spaces where certainty dissolves. Impermanence begins with the land. U is a collection of territories shaped by magic, time, and the remnants of an older civilization. What once stood as cities now appear as ruins wrapped in vines and consumed by forests. Whole regions change form depending on magical forces, natural cycles, or the influence of powerful beings. Mountains rise from enchanted geological shifts, oceans swallow land and release it again, and strange creatures emerge from old wreckage, as if evolution itself moves at unpredictable speeds. The world is alive, but not in a steady or predictable way. It breathes, stretches, contracts, and transforms. Those who live within it must learn to view change as a natural element rather than a threat. The kingdoms of U reflect this same impermanence. The Candy Kingdom evolves constantly under Princess Bubblegum's care. She builds, rebuilds, restructures, and sometimes reinvents her entire society based on shifting needs and emerging dangers. Each wave of change requires her subjects to adapt without hesitation. They welcome new structures, technologies, and traditions with open minds. This adaptability makes the kingdom resilient. It functions not because everything remains stable, but because everything can shift when needed. Through this pattern, Adventure Time reveals the quiet strength that comes from being willing to reshape oneself or one's home when circumstances demand it. Other kingdoms demonstrate similar patterns. The Fire Kingdom thrives under conditions that appear hostile to outsiders, yet its people live confidently within constant heat, unpredictable flare-ups, and volatile leadership. Their resilience is not quiet, but deeply rooted in their ability to accept danger as part of their identity. The Ice Kingdom exists in a place shaped by cold, isolation, and magic, yet even there, life persists. Creatures survive through adaptation, building homes in environments that change unpredictably based on the Ice King's emotional state and magical influence. These kingdoms show that resilience is not limited to peaceful conditions. It can grow in extreme environments where survival requires ongoing flexibility. Even the most chaotic regions, such as the wild forests and magic-soaked territories, thrive because their inhabitants understand that permanence is an illusion. Creatures shift habitats, adjust behaviors, and find ways to survive in places where unpredictability is the rule. Some of these beings embrace change with enthusiasm, while others simply endure because they have no choice. Their existence shows that resilience can be instinctual, born from the fundamental desire to continue living despite uncertainty. The concept of identity in Adventure Time is also shaped by impermanence. Characters rarely remain static. They grow physically, emotionally, and spiritually through experiences that challenge their sense of self. This growth reveals that resilience often requires letting go of old versions of oneself. Finn begins his life with a clear sense of purpose, but as he matures, he learns that identity is fluid. He moves through phases of certainty, doubt, loss, and renewal, each time discovering new facets of who he is. His resilience grows not because he maintains a consistent sense of self, but because he accepts the changes that come with time and experience. Jake undergoes a similar pattern. Although he appears carefree, he experiences shifts in identity as he becomes a partner, father, friend, and wanderer. These roles require him to stretch emotionally, not just physically. His resilience comes from recognizing that each stage of his life requires different forms of presence and responsibility. He does not cling to the past or resist the future. Instead, he flows through his transformations with trust in the process. Princess Bubblegum's identity evolves as well. Over centuries, she moves through different philosophies, relationships, and approaches to leadership. She experiments with ideals, reconsiders her methods, and modifies her actions based on growth and reflection. Her resilience lies in her ability to reconstruct herself without losing her core values. She accepts that identity is a living structure, not a fixed state. Marceline's identity shifts even more dramatically across time. She experiments with expressions of self, from her outward style to her emotional boundaries. Each transformation represents a response to her environment and her experiences. Her long life gives her space to explore many ways of being, and through that exploration, she demonstrates how resilience involves acknowledging past versions of oneself while continuing to evolve. Even characters who seem simple experience this fluidity. Tree Trunks cycles through relationships, adventures, and surprising moments of courage. Her life does not move in a straight line, yet she remains grounded because she accepts the shifts that come with age and desire. The young Candy citizens shift identities as they learn new skills or discover new experiences. Creatures across U move through various forms as magic, time, or growth reshape them. All these patterns reinforce the idea that resilience is the capacity to accept and embody transformation. Impermanence also affects relationships. Connections form, grow, fade, and sometimes revive in unexpected ways. The relationships between PB and Marceline evolve from distance and conflict to trust and love. Their journey reveals resilience through vulnerability and reconnection. Finn's friendships shift as he matures, allowing him to build new bonds without abandoning old ones. Jake's family expands, introducing new dynamics and responsibilities that challenge and strengthen his character. Even friendships among side characters show that relationships must adapt to time and circumstance in order to endure. The friendships in U reveal that resilience is rarely an individual trait. It grows in collective spaces where people support each other through change. When characters experience loss, disappointment, or personal shifts, their communities provide grounding. This community resilience reflects a philosophy that no one stands alone in U. Even characters who appear isolated, such as Ice King or Flame Princess, eventually find networks of support as they confront their own transformations. These networks help them process change and discover stability through connection rather than through rigidity. Impermanence also shapes the nature of magic in Adventure Time. Magic does not behave like a fixed system. It shifts across time, affecting the land, artifacts, and individuals in unpredictable ways. Magical abilities evolve, fade, intensify, or transform based on emotional states, cosmic events, or ancient forces. Characters must learn to understand magic as part of the world's ongoing change. This understanding requires patience and adaptability because magic does not promise consistent outcomes. Instead, it teaches resilience through acceptance of the unknown. Spiritual and cosmic forces reinforce this pattern. Beings like Prismo, Orgolorg, and the entities linked to the multiverse reveal that existence extends beyond linear time or fixed boundaries. Their presence reminds characters that the world contains layers of reality that shift and intersect. Resilience, in this context, means learning to navigate these layers without losing oneself in them. Characters who encounter cosmic forces must adjust their understanding of existence, and through that adjustment, they develop broader forms of inner strength. Even destruction becomes a source of resilience in U. When kingdoms fall, when relationships fracture, or when characters face personal collapse, the world consistently demonstrates the possibility of renewal. A destroyed village becomes fertile ground for a new settlement. A broken bond becomes the beginning of a new understanding. A character who loses part of their identity finds another path forward. The pattern of destruction, followed by renewal, is not presented as a simple cycle, but as the natural rhythm of life in U. Through this rhythm, resilience emerges as a continuous willingness to rebuild. Time itself reinforces impermanence. Characters age, memories shift, and the meaning of past events changes as characters gain new perspectives. Some beings live through centuries of transformation, while others experience rapid personal growth within short periods. The passage of time does not preserve anything in perfect form. Instead, it reshapes everything, subtly or dramatically. Those who thrive in U do so because they accept time as a sculptor rather than an enemy. They understand that resilience requires embracing the flow of time rather than resisting it. Finn's development illustrates the effect of time clearly. As he moves from youthful certainty to mature introspection, he learns that resilience requires patience with oneself. He discovers that healing does not follow a straight path, that mistakes become lessons, and that lost connections sometimes return in new forms. The time he spends learning, growing, and reflecting creates a foundation of resilience that carries him into adulthood. Marceline's centuries of life provide another perspective. Her memories stretch across eras, allowing her to witness the rise and fall of kingdoms, the transformation of relationships, and the evolution of her own identity. She carries the weight of these memories, yet she also learns to release the pain they contain. Her resilience is shaped by her ability to balance memory with presence, honouring the past without becoming trapped within it. Princess Bubblegum's long life teaches her that time requires constant re-evaluation. She modifies her scientific pursuits, political decisions, and personal boundaries as she accumulates more experience. Her resilience stems from this willingness to revise herself. She does not cling to earlier versions of her philosophy. Instead, she allows time to guide her toward more balanced forms of leadership and compassion. Even characters who do not experience long lifespans demonstrate resilience through time. Bimo ages internally rather than physically, learning new emotional languages as time passes. The young Candy citizens grow into unexpected roles. Side characters mature through subtle internal shifts. U itself seems to breathe through time, expanding and contracting with the movements of its inhabitants. The overarching message of impermanence is that resilience arises not from resisting change, but from embracing it. Adventure Time teaches that everything transforms, everything moves, everything grows. The world does not reward rigidity. It rewards flexibility, curiosity, and openness. Those who thrive in U do so because they release the illusion of permanence and welcome the possibilities that emerge when old structures dissolve. This understanding creates a peaceful form of resilience. Characters learn to let go of expectations, to trust in the unfolding of their paths, and to remain steady even when their lives shift dramatically. They do not fear change, because change is the source of new beginnings. They do not cling to the past, because the past becomes part of the foundation for future growth. They do not despair when parts of their lives collapse, because collapse becomes an opportunity to build something new. Resilience in Adventure Time is a gentle acceptance of life's impermanent nature. It is the realization that strength does not come from holding tight, but from knowing when to release and when to adapt. Through the landscapes, identities, relationships, magic, time, and cosmic forces of Oo, the series paints a clear picture of resilience as a living, evolving practice. It is a skill developed through continuous transformation and deep trust in the continuity of life. Resilience in Adventure Time does not grow from perfect decisions or flawless moral clarity. It grows from the willingness to move forward after making mistakes, to learn from misjudgment, and to accept the ambiguity woven through real life. Oo is a world where good intentions collide with unpredictable outcomes, where characters discover that doing the right thing is not always simple, and where maturity requires the humility to admit when one has gone wrong. Resilience here is the ability to navigate moral complexity without losing one's sense of purpose. It is shaped through trial, error, reflection, and the ongoing effort to improve. Oo is full of situations where characters must choose between imperfect options. These choices test their values and reveal the depth of their character. When they fail, the world does not condemn them permanently. Instead, it gives them opportunities to rebuild trust, repair relationships, and refine their understanding. This continued chance for growth reinforces that resilience is not about always choosing correctly. It is about learning how to live with the consequences of one's actions while still striving to do better. Princess Bubblegum's journey embodies this truth as clearly as anyone's. Her life is shaped by leadership decisions that often require balancing compassion with practicality. She faces dilemmas where no option avoids harm entirely. Her choices sometimes distance her from others or create unintended consequences. Even though she strives to protect her people, she occasionally takes actions that compromise her relationships or push her into conflict with those she cares about. These moments reveal her moral complexity. PB does not always choose perfectly, yet she continues to examine her actions, acknowledge the effects they have on others, and adjust her approach as she grows. Her resilience lies in this capacity for self-reflection. She does not collapse under the weight of her mistakes. She learns, adapts, and rebuilds trust where it has frayed. Marceline's moral complexity emerges in the ways she navigates her long life and the emotional scars it carries. Her actions are sometimes shaped by impulses rooted in old wounds. She lashes out, withdraws, or avoids vulnerability when she feels threatened or hurt, yet she consistently returns to reflection. She asks herself what she truly wants, how she truly feels, and how her actions affect those around her. Through this ongoing introspection, she repairs relationships that once felt broken. Her resilience manifests not in perfection, but in her willingness to confront her emotional contradictions. She continues to evolve because she is willing to address her flaws honestly. Finn's moral journey is shaped by youth and growth. Early in his life, he sees the world in distinct categories of good and evil. He believes that every villain can be defeated, every mystery solved, and every conflict ended through courage alone. Over time, he learns that reality is far more nuanced. He makes choices that bring harm despite good intentions. He discovers that not every situation has a clear solution, and not every person fits into tidy moral categories. These experiences shake his certainty, but they become essential parts of his resilience. By confronting the consequences of his mistakes, Finn becomes more compassionate, perceptive, and grounded. His resilience grows as his understanding deepens. Jake's moral complexity appears in his easygoing nature. His relaxed attitude can lead him to make decisions without fully considering their consequences. He occasionally avoids difficult truths or responsibilities. Yet Jake grows because he takes responsibility when it matters most. He acknowledges when he has let someone down and works to repair the harm. His resilience is shaped by this ability to face uncomfortable realities without losing his warmth or optimism. Rather than becoming defensive, he learns to integrate maturity into his natural openness. Simon Petrikov's moral journey holds some of the heaviest emotional weight. After reclaiming his identity, he carries the burden of actions committed under the influence of the crown. Although he knows he was not fully himself, he still feels the consequences deeply. Simon grapples with the ethical complexities of memory, responsibility, and identity. His resilience emerges through his willingness to live with these contradictions. He does not run from his past, nor does he allow it to define his entire future. He seeks understanding, connection, and purpose, even when those pursuits feel fragile. His resilience is not triumphant, but quiet and steady. Flame Princess also embodies the theme of imperfect choices shaping resilience. She inherits a legacy of destruction and turmoil. Her emotions can flare into physical fire, and her choices often carry consequences beyond her control. When she makes mistakes, the repercussions can be severe. Yet she refuses to allow her past or her volatility to dictate her identity. She seeks to understand her feelings, her power, and her place in the world. Through trial and reflection, she learns to direct her energy responsibly. Her resilience lies in her willingness to keep trying, even after missteps. These individual paths reflect a broader truth about U. The world itself is built on layers of moral complexity. The remnants of the old human world raise ethical questions about survival, memory, and legacy. Magic introduces dilemmas about power and responsibility. Communities face challenges where decisions impact many lives, revealing the difficulty of governance and protection. Even seemingly whimsical scenarios contain deeper layers of consequence and interpretation. Through these patterns, the world teaches resilience by forcing its inhabitants to make imperfect choices and live with them. U's social structures also highlight moral complexity. The Candy Kingdom maintains peace through systems that require ongoing maintenance and ethical reflection. The Fire Kingdom navigates its own internal tensions as Flame Princess reshapes its values. Other regions confront their own dilemmas, such as balancing independence with cooperation or tradition with adaptation. These societal challenges contribute to collective resilience. Communities evolve by confronting conflicts, reassessing their structures, and rebuilding when necessary. Relationships between characters also illustrate resilience through imperfection. Bonds sometimes fracture due to misunderstandings, conflicting desires, or clashing values. Yet characters repeatedly choose to repair those bonds through honest communication, forgiveness, and reflection. PB and Marceline restore their connection not by pretending the past was painless, but by acknowledging it and choosing a different path. Finn and Jake navigate moments of tension with honesty and affection. Finn and PB maintain a respectful bond, even as their dynamic shifts. These relationships demonstrate that resilience grows through the effort to understand and support one another, despite flaws or mistakes. The series also shows that moral complexity can lead to growth rather than collapse. When characters confront dilemmas without clear answers, they learn to make choices based on empathy, wisdom, and self-understanding. These decisions shape their personal development. Resilience arises when they accept the ambiguity of life, trusting themselves to navigate uncertain paths with sincerity. They acknowledge that perfection is impossible and that mistakes are inevitable. What matters is how they respond after the mistake has been made. Even characters who serve as antagonists reflect this theme. Some villains reveal motivations shaped by isolation, frustration, or misunderstanding. While their actions remain harmful, their stories sometimes highlight the complexity of moral experience. Characters like Magic Man, Flame King, or various minor adversaries display flaws that stem from pain rather than pure malice. These portrayals reinforce the idea that resilience requires understanding the roots of conflict rather than simplifying them. Magic in U often complicates moral situations. Artifacts can influence thoughts, alter emotions, or distort intentions. Characters must navigate these magical forces with awareness that not everything is within their control. This environment encourages humility. Resilience grows as they learn to distinguish between internal decisions and external influences. They develop ethical maturity by examining the factors that shape their actions. Curiosity and vulnerability also intersect with moral complexity. Characters who ask questions about their behavior, motivations, or consequences grow stronger. Those who express fear, guilt, or regret open paths to reconciliation and self-improvement. These emotional tools help characters navigate ethical dilemmas without shutting down. Resilience emerges when curiosity leads to insight and vulnerability leads to healing. Adventure Time portrays resilience through moral complexity as an ongoing journey rather than a destination. Characters evolve over time, gaining clarity through each dilemma. They develop resilience through acceptance of imperfection, adjustment of perspective, and commitment to doing better. They learn that resilience does not require certainty or impeccable judgment. It requires honesty, humility, and the courage to continue growing. By presenting choices with layered consequences, the series teaches that resilience is intertwined with moral responsibility. Characters become stronger when they engage with their ethical struggles earnestly. They face difficult decisions without pretending to have all the answers. They acknowledge harm, seek repair, and work to align actions with values. Through this process, they become more resilient, more humane, and more connected. Adventure Time reveals that resilience through moral complexity is not about being right. It is about striving to act with sincerity, learning from the results, and continuing forward with awareness. Characters become resilient not because they avoid mistakes, but because they transform mistakes into lessons and lessons into growth. Through this lens, resilience emerges as an evolving practice of ethical courage. Curiosity is one of the quiet forces that holds U together. It shapes the journeys of heroes, the experiments of scientists, the creations of magical beings, and even the unlikely choices of creatures who live far from the center of the story. In Adventure Time, curiosity is not a shallow impulse. It is a profound instinct that drives characters to explore, question, adapt, and grow. Through curiosity, they confront the mysteries of their world and navigate uncertainty with imagination rather than fear. This willingness to learn and understand becomes a powerful form of resilience. Characters remain steady not because they already know the answers, but because they are brave enough to seek them. The world of U invites curiosity at every turn. Its landscapes are filled with anomalies, magical pockets, ancient ruins, and unusual creatures. Nothing ever remains entirely familiar. Even places that seem ordinary reveal secrets beneath their surfaces. Characters who live in this world develop resilience by embracing the unknown rather than resisting it. The unpredictable nature of their environment becomes an open invitation to explore, and the act of exploring becomes a means of survival. Curiosity turns uncertainty into possibility, and possibility becomes a foundation for resilience. Finn's curiosity shapes much of his growth. Though he begins with a youthful desire for adventure, his curiosity deepens as he matures. At first, he seeks external knowledge by exploring forests, dungeons, and magical places. Over time, he begins to explore internal landscapes as well. He grows curious about emotions, relationships, and the complexities of good and evil. This shift reveals that curiosity can evolve alongside the person who carries it. Finn's resilience emerges because he never stops asking questions. He wants to understand what motivates others, what shapes his own heart, and how to navigate choices that contain shades of grey. His desire to learn becomes the lens through which he processes change and adversity. Jake approaches curiosity with a relaxed philosophy. His flexibility encourages him to experience the world with openness. Instead of approaching mysteries with caution, he often approaches them with enthusiasm. He is curious about small details, strange creatures, unusual objects, and obscure magical effects. His curiosity gives him an easy resilience because it prevents him from becoming overwhelmed. Rather than fearing the unknown, Jake treats it as a puzzle or a game. This approach allows him to navigate dangerous or confusing situations without losing composure. Jake's curiosity reveals that resilience sometimes comes from refusing to panic in the face of uncertainty. Princess Bubblegum's curiosity is shaped by intellect and scientific ambition. She studies magic, biology, chemistry, and countless other subjects with relentless dedication. Her desire to understand the world pushes her to innovate and rebuild when structures fail. This scientific curiosity grants her resilience because it motivates her to solve problems rather than despair over them. When challenges arise, PB turns to experimentation, hypotheses, and analysis. She views setbacks as opportunities to learn, not as signs of failure. Her resilience becomes a continuation of her curiosity. She persists because she wants to know more, accomplish more, and understand the intricate mechanisms that govern her kingdom and the world beyond. Yet her curiosity is not limited to science. As she grows, she becomes curious about her own emotional complexities and her relationships. This broadened curiosity helps her build a more balanced resilience, rooted not only in intellect but also in empathy. Through curiosity about herself and others, she becomes a leader who adapts with grace and wisdom. Marceline's curiosity emerges in her creative spirit. Her music explores emotions, memories, and truths that she cannot always articulate through conversation. Music becomes her way of investigating her inner life, uncovering fears and desires shaped by centuries of experience. Her curiosity about her past and identity drives her to revisit old memories, confront unresolved conflicts, and understand how her history influences her present. This emotional exploration provides her with resilience because it allows her to face her vulnerabilities instead of avoiding them. Marceline's curiosity helps her rewrite the narratives she once believed about herself and transform pain into insight. Bimo embodies curiosity in its purest form. With a bright and imaginative perspective, Bimo approaches every day as an opportunity to discover something new. Whether exploring its own inner fantasies or engaging with the world outside the treehouse, Bemo's curiosity fosters joy and resilience. Questions arise naturally in its mind. What makes a family? What makes a friend? What shape a story should take? These questions allow Bemo to forge meaning from simple moments. Curiosity helps Bemo remain steadfast even when situations become confusing or difficult. Instead of becoming discouraged, Bemo imagines new possibilities that generate comfort and clarity. Through curiosity, Bemo maintains emotional resilience rooted in creativity and play. Simon's relationship with curiosity is more fragile yet deeply meaningful. Once a scholar driven by a passion for knowledge, he loses much of that identity under the influence of the crown. When he reclaims himself, he must navigate a world that has changed dramatically. His curiosity becomes a delicate thread that reconnects him with who he once was. He becomes curious about his place in the world, about the relationships he once held, and about how to build a future without the certainty of his former life. This curiosity helps him endure emotional emptiness because it gives him a reason to keep moving forward. Simon's desire to understand becomes his guide through confusion and grief. His resilience grows as he allows curiosity to fill the spaces left by loss. Magic in U also reinforces curiosity as a resilient force. Magic rarely follows predictable rules. It shifts based on emotional energy, cosmic events, or the nature of ancient artifacts. Those who seek to understand magic, such as PB or Peppermint Butler, must cultivate curiosity to navigate its mysteries. Their resilience stems from their ability to continue studying magic, even when it surprises or challenges them. Peppermint Butler's dedication to magical knowledge shows resilience rooted in discipline and fascination. She sees magic as a vast landscape of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Her pursuit of these secrets gives her strength to face dangers and uncertainties. Curiosity also shapes the resilience of characters who rely on intuition rather than intellect. Huntress Wizard listens to the natural world with intense focus. Her curiosity about the movement of energy, the flow of the forest, and the inner workings of nature fuels her resilience. She seeks to understand rather than control, and this approach allows her to endure trials that demand patience, precision, and harmony with her environment. Her resilience is born from her commitment to perceiving the world clearly and responding to its subtle cues. Creatures across U demonstrate similar patterns. Lemongrab, though unstable and volatile, reveals a peculiar form of curiosity about his own sense of order and emotional experience. Tree Trunks explores love, adventure, and domestic life with an open heart. The Candy Citizens show curiosity through their willingness to explore new traditions and embrace changes in leadership, culture, or environment. Even the smallest creatures, such as forest animals or magical beings, display curiosity in their exploration of the world around them. The structure of U itself encourages resilience through discovery. Many of the world's mysteries lie hidden beneath layers of history, magic, and forgotten technology. When characters seek understanding, they uncover fragments of the past that reshape their present. This ongoing discovery teaches that resilience requires adapting to new knowledge. As characters learn more about their world, they adjust their beliefs and behaviors. The landscape becomes a teacher, guiding them through its secrets and revealing that understanding is a continuous journey rather than a final destination. Curiosity also shapes the relationships between characters. When they grow curious about each other's experiences, thoughts, and feelings, they build stronger bonds. Jake's curiosity about Finn's emotions helps him support Finn through difficult times. PB's curiosity about Marceline's past helps heal their relationship. Finn's curiosity about Flame Princess, Huntress Wizard, and others leads him to understand people's complexities rather than reducing them to simple labels. Relationships deepen when characters ask questions, listen, and seek understanding. This curiosity strengthens resilience across the entire web of connections in U. Even across species and kingdoms, curiosity fosters unity. Characters are often intrigued by the customs, powers, or lifestyles of others. Instead of reacting with fear, they approach with interest. This curiosity bridges differences and prevents isolation. It transforms potential conflict into collaboration. The willingness to learn from others creates resilience by expanding the world of each character and allowing them to adapt to diverse challenges. Curiosity also plays a vital role in coping with fear. When characters encounter something unknown, curiosity helps them examine it instead of avoiding it. This approach shifts fear from a paralyzing force to a motivating one. Finn often confronts strange or frightening situations by asking what they are, why they exist, and how he can help. Marceline confronts old ghosts of memory by exploring them through song. PB confronts threats by analyzing their causes. Bimo confronts loneliness by imagining stories that illuminate its feelings. Curiosity transforms fear into resilience by creating a pathway toward understanding. Adventure Time teaches that curiosity is a skill that nurtures resilience over time. The more characters explore their world and themselves, the stronger they become. They face the unknown with openness rather than resistance. They move forward with willingness to learn rather than desire to hide. They allow curiosity to guide them through change, emotion, conflict, and growth. This openness helps them survive the unpredictability of U with grace. Curiosity also helps characters maintain hope. The belief that there is always more to discover, more to learn, and more to understand gives them motivation to continue their journeys. When characters feel lost or uncertain, curiosity reminds them that possibilities still exist. This mindset becomes a source of strength in difficult times. It encourages perseverance and inspires characters to look beyond immediate obstacles. Curiosity fosters a sense of wonder that replenishes emotional resilience even after hardship. In U, resilience through curiosity is not portrayed as a heroic trait. It is gentle and natural, woven into daily life. Characters question, explore, test, and imagine as they move through their world. Through these acts, they develop a flexible and enduring resilience. They become capable of facing challenges not because they already hold the answers, but because they trust themselves to seek the answers they need. Curiosity becomes their guide, their comfort, and their strength. By embracing curiosity, characters show that resilience is not a rigid wall against adversity. It is a fluid, open way of moving through life. It invites growth, fosters learning, strengthens relationships, and transforms fear into discovery. Through curiosity, Adventure Time teaches that resilience is not only about enduring the world as it is, but about engaging with the world as it could be. One of the most surprising truths in Adventure Time is that resilience often grows not from strength or certainty, but from vulnerability. Characters who allow themselves to feel deeply, to admit their fears, and to reveal their insecurities often become the most enduring forces in U. The world rewards emotional honesty with growth, connection, and clarity. Rather than portraying vulnerability as weakness, the series shows that it is the foundation of genuine resilience. Through the characters' willingness to confront their inner worlds, Adventure Time teaches that resilience is built through openness rather than armor. Vulnerability begins with the recognition that emotions guide how characters respond to life's unpredictable nature. U is a place where external challenges appear constantly. Strange creatures wander the land, magic rises and falls, kingdoms shift, and adventures bring both wonder and danger. While physical resilience helps characters survive these external forces, emotional resilience helps them understand, process, and recover from the internal impact of those experiences. Without emotional honesty, characters would become hardened or disconnected. Instead, they learn to acknowledge their feelings and allow those feelings to shape their growth. Finn's journey shows how vulnerability plays a crucial role in resilience. Early in his life, he believes that heroism requires him to be brave at all times. He wants to help everyone, solve every problem, and face every challenge with unwavering confidence. Yet he soon discovers that emotional complexity lies beneath the surface of every adventure. He experiences heartbreak, confusion, guilt, and loss. These emotions challenge his understanding of what it means to be strong. Over time, Finn learns that admitting fear or sadness does not diminish his strength. Instead, it helps him face the reality of each situation with honesty. When Finn acknowledges his feelings, he becomes more resilient. His tears, doubts, and moments of uncertainty do not weaken him. They push him to understand others more fully, to connect with deeper empathy, and to approach challenges with greater maturity. Vulnerability teaches him that heroism does not require emotional suppression. It requires authenticity. His resilience grows as he learns to navigate internal struggles rather than ignore them. Marceline's story reveals emotional honesty through a different lens. She carries centuries of memories shaped by loneliness, loss, and fear. She masks her pain with humor and confidence, yet she eventually confronts the feelings she once buried. Music becomes her primary way of expressing vulnerability. Through her songs, she reveals scars that have lingered for generations. These moments of openness allow her to process grief, reconcile with her past, and rebuild connections she once believed were beyond repair. Her vulnerability becomes a healing force, granting her resilience that is rooted in emotional truth rather than avoidance. The more she opens herself to others, the more grounded she becomes. Her relationship with Princess Bubblegum gains new depth because both of them learn to communicate honestly. Marceline's resilience grows when she allows PB to see the versions of herself that once caused her shame or fear. By embracing vulnerability, she transforms emotional wounds into pathways toward closeness and renewal. Princess Bubblegum also demonstrates vulnerability, though in quieter ways. Her long life and leadership responsibilities often pressure her to present a composed exterior. She feels responsible for the safety and stability of the Candy Kingdom, which makes it difficult for her to reveal uncertainty or fear. Yet, as she grows, she learns to let trusted people see the emotions beneath her rational decisions. When she expresses doubt, sorrow, or affection, she strengthens her relationships and softens the emotional boundaries that once isolated her. This openness allows her to form deeper connections and make wiser choices. Her resilience becomes more balanced as she learns to share emotional burdens instead of carrying them alone. Jake approaches vulnerability differently. His relaxed personality can give the impression that he avoids deep feelings, yet he experiences moments of fear, anxiety, and introspection just as strongly as others. As he becomes a partner and father, he confronts emotions tied to responsibility and change. He discovers fears about losing his family or failing to protect them. He faces uncertainty about how to support his loved ones when life grows complicated. Instead of hiding these emotions, Jake gradually opens up, revealing a side of himself that values honesty and connection. By allowing others to see his deeper feelings, he enriches his relationships and reinforces his resilience. Bemo's vulnerability appears in moments of loneliness or confusion. Although Bemo often maintains a joyful and imaginative spirit, it occasionally experiences a sense of not fully understanding its place in the world. These moments reveal a gentle vulnerability that drives Bemo to create stories, games, and inner worlds to process its emotions. Instead of shrinking away from vulnerability, Bemo embraces it with innocence and curiosity. This honest engagement with emotion allows Bemo to maintain optimism even when feeling uncertain or isolated. Vulnerability strengthens Bemo's resilience by grounding it in creativity and emotional clarity. Simon Petrikov's vulnerability is among the most poignant in the series. After he regains himself, he confronts a fractured identity and painful memories. He feels guilt, confusion, and a sense of loss that cannot be easily soothed. Simon's willingness to admit his emotional turmoil, rather than hide it, becomes a vital step in rebuilding his life. He accepts help, listens to others, and expresses pain with quiet honesty. This vulnerability becomes the foundation of his resilience. It allows him to take meaningful steps toward healing, even if the path forward remains uncertain. Simon demonstrates that resilience is not the absence of suffering, it is the courage to face suffering with an open heart. Flame Princess grows through emotional vulnerability as well. She is shaped by intense emotions that can manifest as physical fire. When she expresses anger or sorrow, her flames surge. Learning to navigate this volatility forces her to confront her inner world with honesty. She eventually discovers how to channel her emotions with intention and clarity. This mastery arises not from suppression, but from understanding the vulnerability beneath her flames. As she grows, she learns to communicate openly, to trust in relationships, and to embrace the parts of herself that once frightened her. This emotional journey builds a powerful and mature form of resilience. The way characters interact with each other also reflects the importance of vulnerability. Adventure Time portrays emotional honesty not only as a personal virtue, but as a social one. When characters reveal their feelings, they invite others to meet them with understanding. These exchanges form the emotional glue that strengthens communities. Finn's honesty encourages others to trust him. Marceline's vulnerability fosters empathy from PB. Jake's openness enriches his household. PB's emotional clarity allows her kingdom and her loved ones to see her humanity. Honesty also helps resolve conflicts. Many disputes in U stem from misunderstandings or buried feelings. When characters express their vulnerabilities, conflicts soften and resolve. These moments teach that resilience is tied to transparency. The ability to acknowledge mistakes, express regrets, or communicate fears helps characters grow stronger together. Vulnerability allows bridges to form where walls once stood. Even friendships among side characters reveal this pattern. Tree Trunk's gentle emotional openness helps her face danger without panic. Lumpy Space Princess's dramatic expressions of insecurity, while humorous, also contain kernels of emotional truth that guide her growth. The citizens of various kingdoms reveal fears, hopes, and desires that shape their communities. Each instance shows that emotional honesty contributes to resilience by helping characters understand themselves and each other more clearly. U's environment also encourages vulnerability. The world is too unpredictable and magical for characters to rely solely on strength or intellect. they must confront emotional responses to bizarre creatures, mystical forces, and ancient mysteries. These reactions push them to recognize feelings they might otherwise ignore. Over time, characters embrace the reality that they cannot control everything, and that vulnerability is a natural reaction to uncertainty. This acceptance creates emotional resilience by aligning their inner experience with the truth of their world. Music in Adventure Time also facilitates emotional honesty. Songs function as windows into the hearts of characters, allowing them to express vulnerability through melody and lyrics. Music helps them communicate feelings that might be difficult to articulate in other ways. It binds characters together emotionally, deepening their resilience by offering an outlet for emotions too large to contain silently. Marceline's songs about loss, PB's rare musical expressions, and Finn's heartfelt moments all contribute to the emotional landscape that shapes resilience. Moments of solitude also reveal vulnerability. When characters find themselves alone, they confront personal truths without external distractions. These quiet spaces expose insecurities and desires. Instead of seeing solitude as a threat, Adventure Time treats it as an opportunity for reflection. Emotional honesty emerges when characters sit with their feelings without fear. Solitude becomes a bridge to resilience by allowing characters to understand themselves more deeply. Resilience through vulnerability also appears in moments when characters face consequences of their actions. When they admit mistakes, apologize sincerely, or express regret, they show emotional maturity. These moments of humility strengthen relationships and allow characters to grow. Finn learns from impulsive decisions. PB reflects on the outcomes of her scientific pursuits. Marceline acknowledges her emotional walls. Jake admits when he has caused worry or frustration. Their honesty deepens their capacity for resilience by transforming conflict into growth. Even the villains of OO offer glimpses of vulnerability. Some antagonists reveal insecurities or fears that shape their actions. These moments do not excuse harmful behavior, but they offer insight into emotional wounds. When characters attempt to understand these vulnerabilities, they approach conflict with empathy rather than hostility. This approach reinforces the idea that resilience includes understanding others, not just oneself. Adventure Time teaches that vulnerability is not an obstacle to resilience. It is the foundation of it. Characters who embrace emotional honesty become more adaptable, more connected, and more aware of their strengths and weaknesses. They develop resilience by facing their inner truths, not by hiding from them. Through vulnerability, they build trust, repair relationships, and navigate hardship with clarity. The willingness to reveal one's emotional self becomes a powerful force for personal and collective endurance. In OO, resilience is not a solid wall. It is a flexible structure built from shared emotions, open communication, and mutual understanding. Characters become resilient not because they become hardened, but because they allow themselves to break open when necessary. They feel deeply, communicate honestly, and rebuild their lives with wisdom gained through vulnerability. Through this emotional journey, Adventure Time shows that resilience grows strongest where walls fall away and hearts remain open. Resilience in OO is not simply a personal trait. It is a shared force that grows through the bonds between characters and the interwoven communities they build. While each character carries individual strengths and vulnerabilities, Adventure Time reveals that true endurance comes from relationships that support, challenge, and guide them. In this world, connection acts as a steady anchor in the shifting currents of change. Community forms a safety net that prevents characters from collapsing into despair. Through friendships, alliances, and quiet moments of care, the land of U demonstrates that resilience thrives when people do not face life alone. U is a place where isolation exists, but it rarely remains permanent. Even characters who begin their journeys in solitude eventually find themselves woven into the lives of others. This pattern begins with the earliest and most central forms of connection in the series. Finn and Jake's bond forms the heart of their adventures, creating a foundation for many other relationships. Their friendship demonstrates how shared experiences strengthen resilience. When one faces doubt or difficulty, the other provides support, grounding, or a new perspective. This dynamic shows that resilience often grows through companionship, because another person can help carry emotional weight when it becomes too heavy for one individual. Finn learns early in his life that belonging to a community is essential for growth. Living in the treehouse with Jake and Lady Rainicorn gives him a home built on love rather than obligation. Their small household becomes a sanctuary where he can process new emotions, face challenges, and recover from hardship. Even when the world outside feels overwhelming or confusing, the presence of his chosen family restores his sense of normalcy. This company nurtures his resilience by helping him navigate maturity, heartbreak, and moral dilemmas. Through these connections, Finn learns that resilience does not mean ignoring pain. It means having a safe space to feel it and move through it. Jake's resilience also benefits from connection. His carefree approach to life gains depth through the relationships he forms. His bond with Lady Rainicorn brings emotional responsibility, encouraging him to grow beyond his playful nature and embrace the complexities of commitment. Their family teaches him patience, care, and long-term thinking. His children, each with their own personalities and trajectories, challenge him to adapt in unexpected ways. All these relationships contribute to his resilience by giving him reasons to change and mature. Jake thrives because he lives in a world filled with love, unpredictability, and community. Princess Bubblegum's relationships reveal another dimension of resilience. Her life is shaped by leadership responsibilities that often carry emotional strain. Yet she does not face these pressures alone. Her friendships, especially with Finn, Marceline, and her citizens, allow her to share burdens she would otherwise carry in silence. PB's connection with the Candy Kingdom functions as a mutual exchange. She protects her people, and in return, they trust and support her. This reciprocity strengthens her resilience by reminding her that she is not isolated in her duties. Her kingdom is a living community that reinforces her purpose and reminds her that leadership is not a solitary path. Her relationship with Marceline deepens this effect. Their history contains pain and tension, yet it also contains powerful affection. Through reconciliation and emotional honesty, they rebuild their connection into a source of strength. Marceline helps PB soften her rigid tendencies and embrace vulnerability. PB, in turn, provides Marceline with stability and grounding after centuries of emotional upheaval. Their bond shows that resilience can be nurtured through trust and tenderness. The ability to repair and renew a relationship demonstrates a commitment to growth that supports both individuals. Marceline's resilience emerges not only from her internal strength, but from the connections she forms over time. Although she begins her life carrying the weight of profound loneliness, she gradually builds bonds that challenge her isolation. Her friendship with Finn offers her playful companionship. Her connection with Jake brings humour and reliability. Her reconnection with PB provides emotional fulfillment and acceptance. Each relationship helps her shed layers of old hurt and move closer to emotional security. These bonds remind her that she does not need to navigate her long life alone. She gains resilience through the understanding that love can reach even someone who has lived through great loss. Bimo's resilience is strengthened through companionship as well. Bimo thrives in a household that welcomes creativity, imagination, and emotional expression. Finn and Jake treat Bimo as an integral part of their family, valuing its innocence and unique worldview. This acceptance gives Bimo a secure environment to explore identity, emotions, and meaning. Connection provides Bimo with the emotional nourishment needed to maintain optimism and curiosity. Through shared play, shared meals, and shared stories, Bimo experiences a sense of belonging that supports its joyful resilience. Simon Petrikov's resilience is also shaped by connection, even though his journey contains more sorrow than most. His bond with Betty, although marked by loss and separation, serves as a constant reminder of love's power to endure beyond transformation. After regaining his identity, Simon discovers resilience through his interactions with others who accept him without fear or judgment. Characters like Finn and Marceline offer him empathy and understanding, helping him reconnect with the world after losing so much of himself. These connections gradually restore parts of his emotional foundation, allowing him to rebuild his sense of self. Community functions as a powerful source of resilience in U. The Candy Kingdom exemplifies this idea clearly. Its citizens come together to face external threats and internal crises with unity and courage. Even though many of them appear timid or naive, they possess collective strength that emerges during times of need. When danger arrives, they support each other. When systems fail, they cooperate to rebuild. Their resilience comes from their interdependence, their shared purpose, and their belief in the community they form together. Similarly, the various groups scattered across U illustrate the resilience that community creates. The Fire Kingdom, though governed by intense energy and volatile elements, demonstrates collective endurance through loyalty and shared identity. The Water Nymphs, the Nitosphere denizens, and the various forest communities show resilience by maintaining traditions and bonds in worlds that constantly shift. Their social structures, however strange or chaotic, provide stability to their members. This stability becomes a shield against the unpredictable nature of the land. Even the smallest of communities contribute to the theme. The tiny people living inside Bimo's imagination, the creatures in the forests, and the diverse groups that reside in obscure corners of U, each display forms of cooperation and mutual support. Their connections may be simple, yet they reveal that resilience often grows in intimate spaces rather than grand settings. Small communities can offer comfort and strength that exceeds their size. Connection also helps characters process loss, one of the strongest tests of resilience. Finn, Marceline, PB, and others face moments when relationships shift or disappear. When they lose someone or something significant, they turn to those around them for comfort. These moments illustrate that resilience does not erase grief. It helps characters move through grief without becoming consumed by it. Community provides a space where sorrow can be shared, where healing can begin in the presence of others. Through these shared moments, characters learn that resilience is not a lonely struggle. It is a communal experience rooted in empathy and support. Relationships sometimes fracture, but Adventure Time shows that resilience includes the capacity to repair connections. Finn and PB, Finn and Jake, Marceline and PB, and many other pairs experience tension or separation. Yet these relationships evolve because the individuals involved are willing to communicate, reflect, and forgive. The ability to mend a relationship reveals deep resilience because it requires vulnerability, humility, and hope. It shows that connection is not fragile. It can bend, stretch, and reform, even after significant strain. Community also provides guidance. Characters learn wisdom through interaction with others. Jake offers Finn insight through humor and life experience. PB teaches characters about responsibility and critical thinking. Marceline reveals emotional truths through music. BMO teaches creativity, acceptance, and the value of imagination. Even characters like Tree Trunks or Huntress Wizard provide lessons about patience, determination, or introspection. These shared teachings create a network of knowledge that supports resilience across generations and social boundaries. Shared adventures strengthen bonds that foster resilience. When characters face challenges together, they build trust and collective memory that reinforces their unity. The trials they overcome together form emotional threads that tie them more deeply to one another. These shared journeys do not require triumph to be meaningful. Even failures or unresolved conflicts contribute to the growth of relationships. Through these experiences, characters learn that resilience grows when others stand beside them, offering strength in unwinnable moments. Connection also influences the way characters understand themselves. Relationships act as mirrors that reflect parts of their identities they cannot see alone. Finn sees his compassion through Jake's trust in him. PB sees her humanity through Marceline's affection. Jake sees his responsibility through his children. Marceline sees her vulnerability through PB's care. Simon sees his value through the empathy of others. These reflections help characters confront fears, insecurities, and doubts. Through connection, they discover resilience that they may not have realized was within them. Adventure Time teaches that community does not eliminate hardship, but it makes hardship survivable. In moments of danger, characters lean on each other. In moments of celebration, they gather to share joy. In moments of uncertainty, they offer comfort and reassurance. This network of relationships forms a living web that supports resilience across the entire world of OO. Even when tragedies strike or paths diverge, the bonds between characters continue shaping their journeys. OO's approach to connection is also inclusive. Characters form relationships across species, kingdoms, personalities, and magical origins. PB and Marceline reconnect across centuries of history. Finn and Jake build family around love rather than blood. Lady Rainicorn and Jake bridge cultural divides through trust and understanding. BMO becomes part of a family despite being a machine. These connections reveal that resilience grows when communities welcome difference rather than fear it. The willingness to include others strengthens the social fabric of OO. Each new bond expands the network of support. When characters embrace diversity, they create a collective resilience that can withstand greater challenges. The openness of OO's inhabitants to friendship and alliance turns the entire land into an interconnected web of relationships that enhance individual and collective endurance. Even cosmic or magical beings participate in this network. Prismo offers wisdom and companionship across dimensions. Peppermint Butler maintains connections with spiritual and magical entities. Tiny creatures form unexpected alliances with larger ones. Across all these interactions, the message remains consistent. Connection deepens resilience. Community strengthens survival. No one thrives alone in OO, no matter how powerful they appear. Resilience through connection does not ignore flaws. Relationships in OO include misunderstandings, disagreements, and hurt feelings, yet these challenges do not weaken the theme. Instead, they strengthen it. The ability to confront conflict and move through it without abandoning relationships reveals profound resilience. These imperfect connections display authenticity and growth. They demonstrate that resilience includes the capacity to rebuild trust, to apologize, to forgive, and to continue investing in others. When the world shifts, when magic surges, when kingdoms falter, and when characters face crises, they turn to one another. Through laughter, tears, arguments, and reconciliations, they weave a tapestry of support that holds them steady. This tapestry defines U just as much as its magic or landscapes. Connection becomes the foundation upon which the entire world rests. In Adventure Time, resilience is not portrayed as a singular, heroic trait. It is a shared strength that arises from mutual care, collaboration, and love. Characters discover their inner endurance by walking alongside others. Communities endure because they believe in one another. The world evolves because relationships thread hope through uncertainty. Through the bonds of friendship, family, and community, U teaches that resilience is not about standing firm against life's storms. It is about standing together. Loss is an inescapable part of life in U. Characters experience it in many forms, from the quiet fading of friendships to the collapse of kingdoms, from the erosion of childhood certainty to the disappearance of entire eras. Yet Adventure Time never treats loss as the end of a story. Instead, loss becomes a threshold, a moment of transformation that leads to renewal. Through the way characters adapt to these moments, the series teaches that resilience does not come from avoiding loss, but from learning how to move through it, reshape oneself, and continue into the unknown. Renewal does not erase what was lost. It grows from the space that loss leaves behind. Loss begins in U, with the land itself. The world is a living monument to an ancient catastrophe. The remnants of the old human world lie scattered across plains and buried beneath forests. But the land did not remain frozen in grief. New life emerged from the ruins, weaving itself into structures left behind. Nature filled empty spaces. Magic infused abandoned places. Entire kingdoms rose atop forgotten foundations. Through this transformation, U demonstrates resilience as a natural process. The world absorbs loss and turns it into fertile ground for regeneration. Characters grow up surrounded by these living reminders of renewal, and the land teaches them that loss does not end life's story, it reshapes it. Characters in U carry this lesson within their own journeys. Finn experiences many forms of loss as he grows. Some are small and personal, others are profound. He loses assumptions, relationships, and illusions about the nature of heroism. These losses often challenge his self-understanding, forcing him to confront who he is when his world changes. Yet Finn adapts with openness. When he loses something or someone important, he allows himself to feel the grief honestly. He does not avoid the emotional weight of loss. Instead, he learns how to keep moving while carrying it. Each loss becomes a moment of renewal, guiding him toward deeper compassion and maturity. His resilience grows not because he avoids pain, but because he discovers a self that can survive it. Jake's experience with loss reflects his more relaxed and intuitive nature. While he often appears carefree, he feels the impact of change as strongly as anyone. He confronts losses tied to shifts in relationships, transitions in family life, and the natural passage of time. Jake adapts through acceptance. Instead of holding tightly to moments or identities, he allows life to evolve, trusting that new phases will bring their own joys. His resilience emerges from his ability to welcome renewal without resisting the changes that precede it. Jake demonstrates that resilience sometimes appears as a quiet willingness to trust the flow of life, even when it leads away from what he once held dear. Princess Bubblegum encounters loss through leadership, longevity, and responsibility. She witnesses the rise and fall of institutions, experiments, and alliances. She faces the loss of stability, the loss of control, and the occasional loss of trust from her people or her friends. PB adapts by rebuilding. When a structure collapses, she creates a new one. When political order destabilizes, she reshapes it. When relationships crack, she works to repair them. Her resilience arises from her capacity to transform loss into opportunity for improvement. Her scientific mind also helps her view loss as part of an ongoing process, one that requires continuous adjustment and recalibration. Renewal becomes the natural response to loss, guided by her determination to protect her kingdom and her personal connections. Marceline's relationship with loss stretches across centuries. She carries the memories of parents, friends, homes, and eras long gone. Her immortality forces her to experience loss repeatedly. At times, the accumulation of grief weighs heavily on her, shaping her personality and emotional boundaries. Yet Marceline does not collapse under this weight. She adapts by expressing her experiences through music, humor, and introspection. She transforms loss into art and transforms art into emotional release. Through her songs and her relationships, she renews herself, allowing old pain to become part of her identity without dictating her future. Marceline's resilience is built from centuries of learning to weave loss into the fabric of her strength rather than letting it isolate her. Simon Petrikov carries one of the most poignant arcs of loss in the series. His experience is shaped by the dual threads of losing himself to the crown and regaining himself only to confront the absence of what once defined his life. Simon loses time, memories, identity, and companionship. When he is restored, he must face the reality that he cannot return to who he was before, nor can he fully reclaim relationships that once defined him. His path forward is uncertain, fragile, and heavy with grief. Yet, his resilience lies in his determination to adapt. He seeks meaning in small moments. He accepts support from those who care for him. He faces his losses with quiet honesty. Through this process, Simon discovers renewal, not by restoring the past, but by building a life that acknowledges both survival and sorrow. Bimo experiences loss in subtle but meaningful ways. As part of a family, Bimo relies on routines, games, and shared moments that create emotional stability. When those routines shift or characters temporarily drift apart, Bimo feels the quiet ache of absence. Yet Bimo adapts through creativity and imagination. It creates stories that help process emotional changes, turning loss into an opportunity for exploration. Bimo's resilience is gentle and optimistic, shaped by a belief that new adventures and new connections will always emerge. Resilience through loss also appears in the relationships between characters. Bonds sometimes fade or transform, leaving emotional spaces that feel empty. Yet those spaces often become the beginning of new forms of connection. Finn's relationships change as he matures, leaving behind certain forms of closeness while opening new avenues of friendship and understanding. PB and Marceline rebuild their bond after long periods of distance. Jake and his children navigate the natural process of growing apart as each child finds a unique path. These shifts show that resilience requires accepting that relationships evolve. Loss does not always mean disappearance. Sometimes it means transformation. Even friendships among side characters reflect resilience through loss. Tree Trunks moves through relationships with optimism that carries her forward. Lumpy Space Princess experiences changes in friendships and identity, yet she continues exploring who she is. Characters from different kingdoms face separations and reunions, shaped by shifting politics, magical events, and personal growth. Each moment of loss becomes an opportunity for renewal, revealing the strength that emerges from accepting change rather than resisting it. Loss also shapes kingdoms and communities. The Candy Kingdom faces invasions, malfunctions, and internal breakdowns, yet the community consistently rebuilds. Citizens come together to repair damage, re-establish order, and strengthen their bonds. The Fire Kingdom undergoes leadership shifts that reshape its identity. The city of the Glass People endures through the fragility of their bodies, but maintains hope for renewal. Across kingdoms adapt to loss collectively. Their resilience comes from shared effort, unity, and belief in their ability to rise again. Magic also creates moments of loss that lead to unexpected renewal. Magical artifacts disappear or change form. Spells unravel. Creatures transform or vanish. Characters often lose powers, memories, or abilities they once relied on. Yet these losses create space for new forms of strength. When characters adapt to the shifts in magical forces, they develop resilience that extends beyond supernatural skills. They learn to trust themselves without relying solely on external gifts. Adventure Time teaches that loss is not a singular experience. It arrives in waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes overwhelming. It can be emotional, physical, or symbolic. It can be the loss of a loved one, the loss of innocence, the loss of a familiar environment, or the loss of a dream. Yet every form of loss invites resilience. Characters learn to carry grief, not erase it. They discover renewal by creating new meaning in the space where something once existed. One of the quietest teachings in is that renewal does not always arrive quickly. Sometimes it emerges slowly, through small gestures and subtle shifts. A single song, a conversation, a shared meal, or a moment of introspection can begin the process. Characters learn that resilience does not require them to rush healing. It requires them to remain open to the possibility that healing will come. Even cosmic elements reinforce this theme. The multiverse contains countless realities where characters experience different forms of loss and renewal. These alternate paths reveal that renewal is not a guaranteed return to what was, but a reconstruction shaped by new circumstances. The existence of multiple universes shows that possibilities always remain, even when a path closes in one timeline. This vast perspective emphasizes resilience as the ability to accept the end of one story and begin another. Adventure Time portrays resilience through loss by showing that renewal is a creative act. Characters reshape their identities, rebuild environments, and form new relationships. They find peace in accepting what cannot be changed and strength in seeking what can grow. Loss becomes a catalyst for introspection, emotional honesty, and deeper connection. Renewal becomes the quiet triumph of continuing forward with an open heart. Through the ebb and flow of loss and renewal, the series teaches that resilience is not about avoiding grief or eliminating pain. It is about trusting that new forms of life, love, and meaning will emerge. Characters do not remain unchanged by loss. They grow in response to it. They become wiser, more compassionate, and more aware of what truly matters. Is a world where every loss creates the possibility of rebirth, where every ending opens a door to transformation. Adventure Time offers a gentle reminder that resilience is not found in holding tight to what once was, but in embracing what comes next. Loss shapes characters, but renewal helps them rediscover themselves. The interplay between the two forms the emotional rhythm of U. Through this rhythm, the series presents resilience as a living, breathing process, one that evolves through time, connection, and the quiet courage to face the future after saying goodbye to the past. Responsibility in Adventure Time is not a simple task. It is a force that shapes characters, stretches them, tests them, and asks them to carry more than they sometimes believe they can handle. It binds them to their kingdoms, their families, their friends, and even their own evolving identities. In U, responsibility is often heavy, confusing, and demanding. Yet, through this weight, characters discover how deeply resilience is tied to the act of caring for something beyond oneself. Resilience grows when characters confront the obligations placed upon them, not with perfection, but with effort and sincerity. Duty becomes a means through which they learn to endure, adjust, and continue forward, even when the path feels overwhelming. Through responsibility, they encounter their limits and then slowly expand them, discovering inner resources they never knew they possessed. Princess Bubblegum embodies the clearest form of resilience through responsibility. As the ruler of the Candy Kingdom, she carries a burden that stretches across centuries. Her people look to her for safety, guidance, science, leadership, and emotional stability. Every decision she makes affects lives. Every misstep has consequences. Her responsibilities are profound, yet she accepts them fully, allowing them to shape her days and nights. This acceptance demands resilience. PB does not always choose the perfect solution, but she consistently chooses to show up, rebuild, innovate, and support her community. Her scientific mind helps her confront responsibility with precision and determination. When systems fail, she designs new ones. When threats emerge, she strategizes defenses. When her people panic, she becomes their steady anchor. PB's resilience grows from her belief that care requires diligence, even when the emotional weight of leadership becomes exhausting. She learns that responsibility is not a static role. It evolves as her kingdom evolves. Through this evolution, she discovers that resilience is not simply the ability to endure pressure, but the ability to grow within it. Yet PB's story also reveals the emotional complexity of responsibility. She faces guilt when her decisions hurt others. She wrestles with the moral implications of her actions. She sometimes withdraws emotionally because she fears that vulnerability will compromise her strength. Over time, she learns that responsibility does not require shutting off feeling. It requires integrating emotion with reason. As she opens herself to trust and connection, her resilience becomes more balanced. She discovers that caring for others also requires allowing others to care for her. Finn's relationship with responsibility develops gradually as he matures. At first, he embraces duty with youthful enthusiasm. He wants to help everyone, solve every problem, and live up to a heroic ideal. He assumes that responsibility means stepping in whenever someone needs him. But as he grows, he learns that responsibility is more complex than heroic action. It requires understanding boundaries, acknowledging emotional truth, and recognizing that not all problems can be solved through force or optimism. Finn's resilience grows as he redefines responsibility. He learns to take responsibility not only for protecting others, but for understanding himself. When he faces heartbreak, failure, or moral confusion, he begins to see responsibility as an internal process. It becomes the act of choosing growth even when it feels difficult. Finn takes responsibility for his actions, his relationships, and his evolving identity. This process strengthens him, giving him the emotional endurance needed to navigate adulthood. Jake reveals a different form of responsibility. His relaxed personality sometimes hides the seriousness with which he loves his family. When he becomes a partner and father, he accepts responsibilities that challenge his carefree nature. He learns to balance playfulness with stability, flexibility with commitment. His resilience emerges through the way he shows up for those he loves. Jake's responsibility is not defined by rigid structure. It is defined by reliability. He becomes a source of comfort, humor, and grounding. His family depends on him not because he is strict or powerful, but because he is present. Jake's resilience grows each time he adapts to a new phase of family life. His responsibilities deepen as his children grow, each with unique needs and destinies. These new dynamics sometimes overwhelm him, yet he never turns away. He navigates his responsibilities with warmth and creativity, demonstrating that resilience often grows through emotional presence rather than rigid duty. Marceline carries responsibilities shaped by history and longevity. Although she does not rule a kingdom or manage a community, she feels responsible for the emotional bonds she builds. Over centuries, she experiences loss, abandonment, and the fear of hurting others. This emotional history makes responsibility feel heavy. She worries about letting people down or repeating mistakes from her past. Yet she continues to show up for those she loves. Her resilience grows through the choice to remain connected, even when connection feels risky. Marceline takes responsibility for understanding her emotions, repairing relationships, and being honest with those she cares about. This emotional responsibility requires courage. It forces her to confront old wounds and open herself to trust. Through these acts of emotional care, she discovers that resilience grows through sustained connection rather than isolation. Bemo's responsibilities are subtle but meaningful. As part of Finn and Jake's household, Bemo becomes a guardian of their emotional environment. It acts as a friend, entertainer, caretaker, and imaginative guide. Bemo's responsibilities often involve navigating feelings, creating harmony, and providing comfort. These responsibilities do not demand physical strength. They demand emotional intelligence and creativity. Through play and imagination, Bemo offers stability during uncertain times. This form of responsibility strengthens Bemo's resilience by giving it a sense of purpose rooted in community. Simon Petrikov grapples with the heaviest responsibilities of any character. Before losing himself to the crown, he was responsible for protecting those he loved. Under the crown's influence, he lost the ability to fulfill that duty, yet still carried it deep within his fractured mind. After returning to himself, he must confront the emotional wreckage left behind. He feels responsible for the actions of the Ice King, even though he was not in control. This sense of responsibility becomes a source of pain, but also a pathway toward resilience. Simon's resilience lies in his willingness to continue living with responsibility rather than fleeing from it. He seeks understanding, accepts help, and shows gentleness to those who care for him. He rebuilds his place in the world, step by step, discovering that responsibility does not require perfection. It requires presence. Through this slow and fragile process, Simon demonstrates resilience grounded in humility and hope. Responsibility also shapes the lives of characters from various kingdoms. Flame Princess shoulders responsibility for reshaping the Fire Kingdom's culture. She works to break the destructive patterns inherited from previous rulers. This responsibility requires strength, introspection, and resolve. She learns that leadership is not about dominance, but about transforming anger into direction and frustration into purpose. Her resilience grows through the effort to build a new path while honoring her identity. Peppermint Butler carries responsibility for maintaining magical knowledge that protects her community. Her duties involve understanding forces that most citizens cannot comprehend. This responsibility shapes her actions, decisions, and personal sacrifices. Her resilience grows from the discipline and dedication required to manage powers that demand constant awareness. Kingdoms throughout U also demonstrate resilience through shared responsibility. The Candy Kingdom rebuilds after invasions. The Fire Kingdom reimagines its values. Smaller communities adapt to environmental shifts, magical disturbances, and political changes. These collective efforts show that responsibility is not limited to individuals. It is shared across groups, forming a tapestry of resilience woven through cooperation. Even creatures with modest roles exhibit resilience through responsibility. Tree Trunks feels responsible for the well-being of her loved ones. Lumpy Space Princess feels responsible for asserting her sense of self. The Glass People feel responsible for maintaining fragile hope. Every corner of U reflects how responsibility strengthens communities and individuals alike. Responsibility also influences the emotional landscape of Adventure Time. Characters must take responsibility for their feelings, their actions, and the ways they interact with others. This emotional responsibility requires honesty and self-awareness. When characters hurt each other, they take steps to make amends. When misunderstandings arise, they seek clarity. When relationships change, they accept responsibility for their own roles in those changes. This emotional work reinforces resilience by promoting healthier connections. Adventure Time teaches that responsibility is not static. It expands, contracts, transforms, and evolves. As characters grow, their responsibilities shift with them. Finn's responsibilities change as he matures. Jake's expand with fatherhood. PB's responsibilities stretch across centuries. Marceline's responsibilities deepen as she forms new connections. Simon's shift from survival to healing. Each shift marks an opportunity for resilience to develop further. Responsibility also teaches characters how to balance personal desires with the needs of others. Adventure Time does not portray responsibility as self-sacrifice devoid of joy. Instead, it shows that healthy responsibility includes rest, play, boundaries, and introspection. Characters learn that they cannot care for others without caring for themselves. This balance becomes a key element of resilience, preventing burnout and promoting sustained strength. Through responsibility, characters discover meaning. They find purpose in the care they offer and the commitments they uphold. This purpose becomes a steady source of resilience, guiding them through uncertainty and supporting them in times of loss. Responsibility transforms their actions into contributions that shape the world around them. Through this shaping, they reinforce the resilience of U as a whole. Adventure Time offers a gentle lesson that responsibility is not a burden to be feared. It is a pathway to deeper strength, connection, and resilience. Characters do not become resilient because they avoid responsibility. They become resilient because they embrace it with sincerity, learn from it with humility, and grow within it with patience. In Adventure Time, imagination is not a distraction from reality. It is a vital force that shapes how characters survive, heal, connect, and grow. Creativity becomes an act of resilience, a way to transform confusion into clarity, fear into curiosity, and loneliness into meaning. The world of Oo thrives on imagination. Magic, nature, technology, and emotion blend in ways that invite constant creativity from those who live there. For many characters, imagination provides a path through hardship that logic or strength alone cannot offer. Through the power of play and creative expression, Adventure Time teaches that resilience often grows from the inner worlds that characters build for themselves. Imagination is woven into the fabric of Oo. Landscapes unfold with a dreamlike fluidity that encourages exploration. Forests contain surreal creatures. Mountains hide ancient relics. Rivers lead to impossible places. Even the sky seems alive with the possibility of something new. The environment invites characters to think beyond conventional boundaries. This openness fosters resilience because it encourages characters to adapt creatively to new situations rather than rely on rigid expectations. When the world shifts, imagination becomes a tool for navigating uncertainty. One of the clearest embodiments of resilience through imagination is BMO. As a living console with emotions, curiosity, and creativity, BMO approaches life with an almost limitless sense of play. BMO's imagination transforms ordinary moments into adventures. A simple task becomes a narrative. A quiet evening becomes an exploration of identity. When BMO feels lonely or unsure, it constructs stories, characters, and internal worlds that help process these feelings. This creative play is not avoidance. It is a method of making sense of experiences that might otherwise feel overwhelming. BMO's resilience lies in the ability to reinterpret reality through imagination. By turning challenges into games, BMO builds emotional strength from joy and curiosity. This approach softens the impact of uncertainty. It also spreads resilience to those around BMO because its imaginative spirit often lifts the atmosphere of the treehouse. Finn and Jake gain comfort and inspiration from BMO's creative presence. Through imaginative expression, BMO reinforces the idea that resilience does not always require seriousness. Sometimes it requires the courage to play. Finn also reveals resilience through creativity. As he grows, he develops a rich inner world fueled by imagination. He invents stories to understand emotions he cannot yet articulate. He uses playful thinking to approach problems in unconventional ways. When faced with magical dilemmas, emotional challenges, or moral complexities, Finn often turns to creativity to find solutions that do not rely solely on force. This imaginative flexibility becomes one of his greatest strengths. It allows him to adapt to situations that most would find impossible. Through creativity, he reshapes his setbacks into opportunities for adventure. This process deepens his resilience by turning confusion into discovery. Finn's imagination also helps him navigate emotional growth. When he feels hurt or uncertain, he sometimes retreats into internal narratives to process what happened. These imaginative reflections help him express emotions that would be difficult to face head-on. Creativity becomes a bridge between his inner world and the challenges outside. Through playful thinking, Finn learns resilience not as a rigid posture, but as an evolving practice of understanding himself. Jake's creativity emerges in his fluid relationship with the world. His magical stretching ability reflects his imaginative perception of reality. Jake does not see situations as fixed. He views them as flexible shapes that can be rearranged. This perspective allows him to approach problems with humor and innovation. When a challenge arises, Jake often finds a creative workaround that others might overlook. His resilience stems from this ability to improvise. He treats life as a canvas, using imagination to adapt his shape, his outlook, and his approach. This playful creativity helps him stay grounded even during chaotic or frightening events. Jake's creativity also influences his family life. When raising his children, he uses imagination to teach, entertain, and connect. He plays with them in ways that reflect their unique personalities. He builds imaginative worlds where they can explore safely. This creative parenting helps his children develop resilience by learning how to interpret their own abilities through play. Jake demonstrates that imagination strengthens families by offering shared spaces of joy and understanding. Resilience through imagination also appears in Princess Bubblegum's scientific innovations. Although her approach is logical, her scientific creativity requires imaginative thinking. She envisions possibilities that others might consider impossible. She invents technologies, experiments with materials, and develops new forms of life. Her resilience emerges from her willingness to imagine solutions rather than accept limitations. This scientific imagination allows her to rebuild the Candy Kingdom repeatedly. The ability to picture a future different from the present becomes a source of strength. PB shows that imagination is not limited to fantasy. It includes the ability to envision progress and create new forms of stability through creative problem solving. Marceline's creativity takes the form of music, which becomes her emotional anchor. Her songs provide an outlet for processing centuries of memories, grief, love, and identity shifts. Through music, Marceline translates difficult feelings into expressive melodies that help her navigate emotional storms. This creative expression gives her resilience by transforming pain into art. Her vulnerability becomes strength through creativity. When she plays, she is not escaping her emotions. She is examining them, giving them form, and releasing them into the world. Music becomes a pathway to renewal, a bridge between past hurt and present healing. Marceline's creativity also influences others. Her songs help characters understand her more deeply. They communicate emotion in ways words cannot. Through this shared artistic space, relationships strengthen and connections heal. Creativity becomes a communal force for resilience, not just a personal one. Simon Petrikov's relationship with creativity evolves through his struggle with identity. Before losing himself to the crown, he was a scholar who imagined possibilities through academic and artistic curiosity. After reclaiming his identity, he uses creativity in quieter, more introspective ways. He navigates his grief and confusion through thoughtful exploration. Simon's resilience grows as he imagines new paths for himself, even when he cannot fully see the destination. Creativity becomes a way to reconnect with his humanity. It helps him envision a future that acknowledges his losses without allowing them to define every aspect of his life. Imagination also shapes the resilience of side characters. Tree Trunks approaches life with whimsical confidence that allows her to adapt to any situation. Her optimism is creative, not naive. She imagines the best possibilities even when the world appears chaotic. Lumpy Space Princess interprets situations through dramatic and humorous inner narratives that help her maintain self-confidence. Peppermint Butler uses creative, magical thinking to solve complex problems. Even the smallest creatures in Oo, such as woodland animals or candy citizens, use play and imagination to navigate their lives. The land of Oo itself reinforces the importance of creativity. Magic behaves unpredictably, requiring characters to think creatively to harness or navigate it. Ancient ruins hide secrets that demand imagination to uncover. Even the physics of the world encourages playful interpretation. Characters regularly encounter phenomena that defy conventional logic, pushing them to adapt through inventive thinking. This environment cultivates resilience by embedding imagination into the world's structure. To live in U is to live creatively. Imagination also influences the way characters understand relationships. Finn and Jake strengthen their bond through shared adventures that often rely on playful thinking. PB and Marceline reconnect, in part, through creative expression and shared experiences. Families in U rely on creative storytelling, music, traditions, or rituals that bind them emotionally. These imaginative practices reinforce resilience by creating shared meaning that transcends hardship. Play itself becomes a form of resilience in Adventure Time. Characters engage in games, jokes, and light-hearted activities, not as distractions, but as essential parts of emotional survival. Play allows them to recover from stress, bond with others, and explore parts of themselves too delicate for direct confrontation. Even in dangerous moments, characters often turn to humor or playful thinking to stay calm. This playful resilience shows that joy is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It helps characters remain balanced in a world that oscillates between wonder and danger. Adventure Time also uses imagination to teach characters how to face fear. When confronted with frightening situations, characters often approach them with creativity rather than panic. Finn imagines strategies to navigate mysterious threats. Jake visualizes creative solutions to magical puzzles. Marceline uses music to shift the emotional atmosphere. PB uses innovative science. BMO uses storytelling to turn fear into something understandable. These imaginative responses help characters manage fear without being overwhelmed. Resilience arises from their ability to reinterpret fear through creative perspectives. Imagination also softens grief. When characters lose someone or something important, creativity helps them process the loss. Music, stories, rituals, and shared memories provide emotional pathways toward healing. Characters use creativity to honor what they have lost while envisioning the continuation of life. This process allows them to transform sorrow into growth. Imagination becomes a form of emotional resilience that helps them move forward. Adventure Time portrays creativity as a dynamic force that evolves with characters. It adapts to different ages, identities, and experiences. For children like Finn, creativity shapes how they understand the world's complexity. For older beings like Marceline or PB, creativity helps them reinterpret long histories. For characters like Simon or BMO, creativity becomes a way to navigate identity and emotion. Across these arcs, imagination remains a consistent source of resilience. Creativity also builds resilience by allowing characters to imagine better futures. When the world becomes uncertain, imagination provides a vision of hope. PB imagines innovations that protect her kingdom. Finn imagines new approaches to heroism. Jake imagines harmony within his family. Marceline imagines deeper connection. BMO imagines stories that bring comfort. Each act of imagination becomes a step toward renewal. Adventure Time teaches that resilience through imagination does not require grand artistic talent or magical ability. It requires openness to possibility. It requires the willingness to look at the world from a new angle, to play with ideas, to express emotions, and to create meaning. Through creativity, characters build inner worlds strong enough to withstand the outer world's unpredictability. Imagination becomes a survival strategy, a healing practice, a form of problem solving, and a source of joy. It empowers characters to adapt, connect, and grow. Through imagination, Adventure Time reveals that resilience is not just the ability to endure, but the ability to re-envision life again and again. In Ooh, creativity is not optional, it is fundamental. Characters rely on imagination to navigate mysteries, confront dangers, and understand themselves. This creative approach transforms challenges into opportunities. It fosters resilience by allowing characters to rewrite their stories, redefine their identities, and rediscover hope in the most unexpected places. Adventure Time presents relationships not as static connections, but as living processes shaped by missteps, misunderstandings, conflict, and reconciliation. Characters hurt each other, drift apart, and make choices that strain the bonds between them. Yet, again and again, the series reveals that forgiveness and repair are essential to resilience. Through the willingness to acknowledge mistakes, offer understanding, and rebuild trust, characters discover strength rooted in emotional restoration. Forgiveness in Ooh is complex. It is not a simple release of anger or a quick reconciliation after conflict. It requires time, honesty, introspection, and vulnerability. It challenges characters to confront their own flaws, as well as the flaws of those they care about. This emotional labour builds resilience, because it teaches characters how to endure relational storms without abandoning hope for healing. Princess Bubblegum and Marceline embody this theme profoundly. Their bond stretches across centuries, shaped by moments of intimacy, distance, conflict, and reconnection. Their past contains misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and emotional walls that kept them apart. Rather than letting these wounds sever their connection permanently, they gradually work toward healing. This process requires PB to become more emotionally open, and Marceline to confront old vulnerabilities. Their reconciliation reflects resilience born from mutual forgiveness. Neither erases the past. Instead, they accept it, acknowledge their roles in the distance between them, and choose to rebuild trust. This act of repair becomes one of the most meaningful examples of resilience in the series. It shows that healing takes patience, honesty, and the courage to trust again after hurt. Finn and Jake also experience moments of tension. Although their bond appears effortless, their closeness occasionally leads to misunderstandings. Finn sometimes feels overshadowed or confused by Jake's relaxed approach. Jake sometimes struggles to balance his playful nature with responsibility toward Finn. Yet their ability to repair small fractures strengthens their relationship. They talk through emotions, give each other space, and express affection openly. This pattern demonstrates that even the strongest bonds require repair. Their resilience grows because they refuse to let pride or discomfort undermine their connection. Finn's relationships with others also showcase forgiveness as a pathway to resilience. His interactions with Flame Princess, Princess Bubblegum, and other characters contain moments of emotional friction. He learns that forgiveness requires maturity. It demands accountability and reflection. Finn discovers that forgiveness is not about erasing mistakes, but about learning from them and moving forward with sincerity. His experiences teach him how to navigate conflict with openness rather than fear. This emotional growth becomes a cornerstone of his resilience. Marceline's relationships outside PB also reveal her engagement with forgiveness. She carries emotional wounds from her long life and sometimes reacts with anger or detachment. Yet she eventually confronts these patterns and apologizes when she recognizes harm. Her willingness to repair relationships with Finn, Jake, and others strengthens her emotional stability. Forgiveness becomes a way to release old burdens and make space for connection. Through this process, she builds a resilience shaped by honesty and emotional clarity. Princess Bubblegum's leadership often requires her to seek forgiveness from those her decisions affect. Her scientific and political choices sometimes cause unintended consequences. When this happens, she learns to reflect on her actions and take responsibility. Her ability to accept criticism and adjust her approach supports the resilience of her kingdom. It shows that forgiveness is not just personal. It also has collective implications. When leaders acknowledge mistakes and work toward repair, communities grow stronger. Simon Petrikov's relationship with forgiveness is among the most emotionally challenging in the series. After regaining himself, he must confront the damage caused during his time as the Ice King. Although he was not in control, he still feels the weight of those actions. His journey requires him to forgive himself, even if that forgiveness arrives slowly and uncertainly. This self-forgiveness becomes a crucial part of his resilience. It allows him to heal without being consumed by shame. Simon also experiences forgiveness from others. Marceline, who knew him before the crown, accepts him with compassion. She does not hold him accountable for actions he could not control. This acceptance provides Simon with stability and hope. It shows that forgiveness from loved ones can help heal wounds too deep to address alone. Flame Princess demonstrates forgiveness through personal and political transformation. Raised under the influence of a manipulative father, she inherits emotional volatility and internal conflict. Her growth requires forgiving herself for reactions shaped by her upbringing. As she becomes leader of the Fire Kingdom, she learns to navigate relationships with fairness and empathy. She works to break cycles of violence and imbalance, offering forgiveness to those who support her and reshaping her kingdom with renewed trust. Jake's children also reveal forgiveness in family dynamics. As they grow, they navigate misunderstandings, differences in personality, and moments of distance. Their ability to forgive each other and maintain loving relationships illustrates resilience across generations. Jake himself sometimes needs forgiveness from his children when he struggles with fatherhood. These exchanges reveal how resilience arises through family bonds that bend but do not break. Bemo's role in forgiveness often centers on emotional harmony. As a playful and caring presence in the treehouse, Bemo helps smooth tensions and uplift the moods of those around it. Bemo approaches conflict with curiosity rather than judgment. This attitude fosters an environment where forgiveness feels safe and accessible. Bemo demonstrates that forgiveness does not always require deep analysis. Sometimes it emerges through simple gestures of kindness and joy. Communities throughout Ooo rely on forgiveness to maintain unity. The Candy Kingdom rebuilds trust after conflicts, recognizing that mistakes and disruptions are inevitable in a magical and unpredictable world. The Fire Kingdom transforms through forgiveness of old grievances. Smaller communities navigate conflicts and rebuild trust when mistakes occur. These collective acts of repair strengthen social resilience and prevent fragmentation. Adventure Time also shows that forgiveness requires boundaries as well as empathy. Characters learn to recognize when forgiveness is appropriate and when distance is necessary. Forgiveness does not mean excusing harmful behavior or ignoring patterns that need change. It involves self-respect and emotional awareness. This balanced view of forgiveness strengthens resilience by preventing characters from becoming overwhelmed or exploited. The natural world of Ooo reflects forgiveness through its cycles of destruction and renewal. Forests regrow after fires. Rivers carve new paths after disruptions. Magic reorganizes itself after chaotic events. The land itself seems to forgive upheaval, adapting and evolving without erasing the traces of what came before. This environmental rhythm mirrors the emotional cycles of the characters, teaching that healing and repair are natural parts of life. Forgiveness also influences magic. Spells that misfire or cause unintended consequences can often be reversed or transformed through cooperation and understanding. This reinforces the idea that mistakes are opportunities for growth rather than permanent failures. Characters become more resilient when they approach magical problems with calm reflection rather than panic or blame. Adventure Time teaches that forgiveness strengthens identity. Characters who forgive themselves and others gain clarity about their values, motivations, and emotional needs. They become more empathetic, patient, and grounded. This internal stability becomes a source of resilience that supports them through future challenges. Forgiveness also nurtures trust. When characters demonstrate that they can acknowledge mistakes and repair harm, their relationships grow stronger. This trust becomes a foundation for future resilience. Characters know they can rely on one another because they have faced and overcome conflict together. Even cosmic beings show patterns of forgiveness. Prismo offers characters guidance without judgment. Other magical entities act with neutrality or compassion, reflecting a cosmic acceptance of mistakes and change. These interactions reinforce a universal theme, that forgiveness is woven into the fabric of connecting beings across realms and experiences. Adventure Time reveals that forgiveness is not a singular act, it is an ongoing process of emotional restoration. Characters learn that forgiveness requires courage, humility, and patience. It demands the willingness to confront pain without letting it define the future. Through forgiveness, relationships heal, communities strengthen, and individuals grow. Through this theme, the series teaches that resilience emerges from the ability to repair what has been damaged. It shows that bonds do not need to be perfect to be meaningful. They need to be cared for, revisited, and nurtured. Forgiveness allows characters to move beyond conflict without losing connection. This ongoing effort becomes a powerful expression of resilience, one that highlights the strength of the human heart and the enduring value of compassion. Memory in Adventure Time is not a simple archive of events. It is a living force that shapes identity, relationships, and the emotional fabric of Characters do not experience memory passively. They reinterpret it, wrestle with it, preserve it, and sometimes fear it. Storytelling becomes the way they give structure to memory, transforming scattered moments into meaningful narratives that guide their future paths. Through this interplay between memory and storytelling, Adventure Time reveals a unique source of resilience. Characters grow stronger when they understand where they have come from, how their experiences shape them, and how they choose to carry the past into the future. The world of itself is steeped in memory. Remnants of the old human world lie scattered across the land, buried in strange structures or preserved in magical anomalies. These ruins serve as silent storytellers, reminding characters that the world they inhabit is built on layers of forgotten history. The land holds memories in its soil, its broken machines, and its lingering echoes of civilization. Yet these memories do not paralyze Instead, they provide context, wisdom, and an understanding that survival requires both honoring the past and moving beyond it. Finn's relationship with memory evolves as he grows. As a child, he remembers only fragments of his earliest life. He carries a sense of longing shaped by memories he cannot fully access. Yet he learns to fill the gaps through his own experiences, creating memories that form the foundation of his identity. His memories of adventures with Jake, moments of joy, heartbreak, confusion, and growth become the stories he tells himself about who he is. These stories help him navigate challenges with emotional resilience. He revisits memories not to dwell in the past, but to draw strength from the lessons they taught him. As Finn matures, he begins to understand that memories are not static. They change shape depending on perspective and emotional context. This realization shows him that storytelling plays a crucial role in how he interprets his journey. By reflecting on events with honesty and empathy, he transforms painful memories into sources of wisdom. This process becomes a form of resilience, allowing him to remain grounded even when confronted with uncertainty. Jake approaches memory with an easygoing spirit, yet beneath his relaxed demeanor, he carries profound sentiment for the memories he shares with Finn, Lady Rainicorn, and his family. Jake's memories play a quiet role in his resilience. They remind him of the people he loves and the experiences that have shaped him. Even though Jake often appears carefree, he holds certain memories with great tenderness. These recollections anchor him emotionally, helping him remain steady during moments of change. His storytelling often brings comfort to others, turning shared memories into sources of unity and laughter. Princess Bubblegum's relationship with memory is shaped by her long life and scientific mind. She remembers eras that many others have forgotten. Her memories carry the weight of political decisions, scientific experiments, friendships, and conflicts that span centuries. These memories influence her leadership, giving her insight into patterns of behavior and the consequences of past choices. PB's resilience emerges from her ability to draw from this deep well of memory while still remaining open to new ideas. Her storytelling often takes the form of recorded data, scientific logs, or historical analysis. Through these forms, she preserves knowledge for her kingdom, ensuring that future generations learn from the past rather than repeat its mistakes. Yet PB also learns that some memories require emotional interpretation rather than scientific examination. Her memories of Marceline, for instance, evolve through reflection and conversation. By re-evaluating these memories with compassion, PB discovers emotional truths that help repair their relationship. This blending of logic and emotional storytelling strengthens her resilience by harmonizing rational understanding with heartfelt insight. Marceline's memories shape her identity on a profound level. As an immortal being, she carries emotional imprints from centuries of experience. Some of these memories bring her joy, while others carry deep pain. Marceline's relationship with memory is intertwined with her music. Through songwriting, she transforms her memories into creative expression. This storytelling allows her to process emotions that might otherwise overwhelm her. Music becomes her way of organizing memory into meaning. These stories help her navigate complex emotions, strengthening her resilience by giving her a voice that bridges past and present. Marceline's memories of Simon, of her early life, of friendships lost and regained, create an emotional landscape that she must travel repeatedly. Her resilience grows not from forgetting, but from understanding the ways these memories shaped her. She learns to hold them without letting them dominate her present. Through storytelling, she acknowledges her history while allowing herself to change. Simon Petrikov's relationship with memory is one of the most poignant in the series. His memories are fractured, layered, and often painful. He remembers his life before the crown, his time as the Ice King, and the fragmented moments in between. These memories sometimes conflict with one another, creating emotional confusion. Yet Simon's resilience grows from his determination to piece together a coherent sense of self from these fragments. He does not reject his memories, even when they cause pain. Instead, he seeks understanding through them. Simon's storytelling becomes a form of healing. Whether through sharing memories with Marceline, reflecting silently, or engaging with new experiences, he weaves a narrative that helps him move forward. His resilience lies in his ability to accept memory as a complex, imperfect part of his identity. He learns that memory does not need to be complete or orderly to be meaningful. It simply needs to be acknowledged. Bimo's relationship with memory is shaped by imagination. Bimo creates internal stories that blend real memories with creative interpretations. These narratives help Bimo understand emotional nuances and maintain a joyful perspective. Bimo's storytelling often brings comfort to Finn and Jake, turning memories into playful lessons. Its imaginative approach to memory makes resilience feel accessible and light-hearted. Bimo teaches that memory does not always need to be heavy. It can be transformed into stories that uplift and inspire. Flame Princess carries memories shaped by her volatile upbringing. Her early memories are filled with conflict, manipulation, and emotional confusion. As she grows and asserts independence, she begins to reinterpret these memories with clarity. She questions her past, reevaluates her father's influence, and constructs new stories about who she is becoming. This narrative reconstruction helps her build resilience by separating inherited pain from her emerging identity. She learns to use memory as a guide rather than a restriction. Communities across U also rely on memory and storytelling to maintain resilience. The Candy Kingdom preserves cultural memory through festivals, traditions, and shared stories that reflect unity and identity. The Fire Kingdom reinterprets its violent history under Flame Princess's leadership, transforming old memories into new visions for the future. Smaller communities pass down stories that preserve wisdom, humor, and survival strategies. Even magical beings participate in this process. Prismo, for instance, remembers countless interactions across timelines, offering characters guidance based on his vast experience. These memories allow him to help others understand the shape of their journeys. His storytelling style blends cosmic awareness with gentle mentorship, creating resilience across realities. The land of U itself functions as a storyteller. Ruins, artifacts, and landscapes carry fragments of memory that characters interpret in different ways. This environmental memory shapes not only the present world, but also the emotional journeys of those who explore it. The land's ability to preserve memory while nurturing new life embodies resilience. It shows that the past can coexist with the future without preventing transformation. Adventure Time reveals that memory can be both comforting and painful. Some memories bring joy and connection. Others carry trauma or regret. Characters learn that resilience requires engaging with both types of memory. Avoiding painful memories does not bring healing. Processing them through storytelling, conversation, or creative expression helps characters integrate their past and move forward with wisdom. Storytelling also strengthens relationships. When characters share their memories with each other, they create deeper understanding. Finn and Jake recount adventures that reinforce their bond. Marceline and PB share memories that rebuild trust. Simon and Marceline connect over shared history. These exchanges affirm that memory is not only personal, but relational. Through shared stories, characters build emotional bridges that reinforce collective resilience. Memory also influences moral development. Characters reflect on past mistakes and use these memories to guide future behavior. Finn remembers moments of impulsiveness and grows more thoughtful. PB remembers scientific errors and adjusts her approach. Flame Princess remembers inherited patterns and chooses new actions. These reflective memories create resilience by preventing stagnation and encouraging growth. Adventure Time teaches that resilience through memory is not about clinging to the past, it is about honoring it while allowing room for change. Characters learn to reinterpret memories with compassion, transform them through storytelling, and integrate them into evolving identities. This process creates emotional stability that supports them through new challenges. In OO, memory is a thread that connects the beginning of a journey to its continuation. Storytelling becomes the act of weaving these threads into meaning. Through this interplay, characters discover resilience rooted in understanding, self-awareness, and emotional continuity. They learn that the past does not disappear. It becomes the soil from which new growth emerges. This theme shows that resilience is not a separation from what has been experienced. It is the strength to carry memory with grace, to share stories with honesty, and to use the lessons of the past as a guide toward the future. Adventure Time often appears chaotic on the surface, with floating kingdoms, bizarre magic, unpredictable creatures, and emotional journeys that twist in unexpected directions. Yet beneath all this strangeness lies a quiet truth. The characters who endure, grow, and find meaning are the ones who learn how to live with contradictions rather than fight them. They discover resilience through balance, the ability to harmonize conflicting pieces of themselves and their world. Balance does not mean erasing tension or eliminating complexity. It means holding multiple truths at once while navigating life with clarity, patience, and acceptance. This principle shapes the emotional, moral, and spiritual landscape of OO. The world itself is a blend of ancient technology and whimsical magic, serene beauty and lurking danger, creation and ruin. Characters reflect these contrasts internally. They carry contradictions that they must understand, reconcile, or simply learn to live with. Their resilience grows through this ongoing process of harmonizing different parts of themselves. Princess Bubblegum is the clearest example of a character shaped by the need for balance. She embodies the dualities of logic and emotion, science and compassion, leadership and vulnerability. For much of her journey, these opposing traits create tension within her. She wants to protect her people through rational decision-making, yet she also cares deeply for those close to her. Her emotional connections sometimes clash with her political responsibilities. PB's resilience grows as she learns to hold both sides of herself without suppressing either one. She becomes a stronger leader when she accepts that her rationality and her heart can coexist. Her relationship with Marceline also reflects this need for balance. PB learns that emotional harmony does not come from denying conflict, but from facing it with honesty. Their connection requires PB to balance her structured worldview with Marceline's emotional spontaneity. This balance creates resilience in their relationship. Neither character abandons their nature. Instead, they harmonize their differences into a partnership that is stronger than either extreme. Marceline embodies another form of contradiction. She carries centuries of memory yet struggles with the desire to live in the present. She is both fierce and gentle, rebellious and tender, powerful and vulnerable. For much of her life, she tries to lean into one side of her identity while ignoring the others. She pushes away the softer parts of herself because she fears the pain they bring. Yet she also feels incomplete when she hides her emotional side. Marceline's resilience emerges when she embraces the full spectrum of who she is. By accepting both her strength and her sensitivity, she becomes more grounded. Balance allows her to stand firmly in her identity instead of swinging between extremes. Finn discovers balance as the foundation for emotional maturity. Early on, he sees the world in binary terms. There are heroes and villains, good choices and bad choices, victories and failures. This worldview gives him confidence, but it also leaves him unprepared for moral nuance. As Finn grows, he encounters contradictions that challenge his early beliefs. People he cares about make mistakes. Conflicts contain shades of grey. Emotions become complex rather than straightforward. His resilience emerges when he learns to balance idealism with realism, courage with humility, and action with reflection. Finn's ability to hold contradictions makes him more adaptable and more compassionate. Jake represents a balance between flexibility and responsibility. His magical abilities embody physical adaptability, allowing him to change shape in moments of crisis. Yet, this physical flexibility mirrors his emotional approach. Jake is naturally relaxed, yet he must develop the ability to become serious when circumstances demand it. He balances his carefree nature with commitment to his family. This equilibrium is a source of resilience. Jake adapts easily because he understands how to balance play with purpose. His harmony between light-heartedness and grounded responsibility helps him face challenges without losing his core identity. Bemo's resilience arises through a balance of innocence and insight. Bemo appears childlike, imaginative, and playful, yet it often displays surprising wisdom. Bemo's emotional harmony allows it to understand others intuitively. It can explore deep feelings through games and stories while maintaining a light spirit. This balance creates resilience by allowing Bemo to remain joyful without ignoring emotional complexity. Its internal equilibrium helps stabilize the treehouse, offering comfort to Finn and Jake during times of stress. Simon Petrikov experiences one of the most difficult contradictions in the series. He carries two identities, both of which contain pieces of truth. He is Simon, a kind scholar who loves deeply, yet he also contains the shadow of the Ice King, a persona that caused harm despite lacking ill intent. This contradiction creates a profound emotional struggle. Simon cannot simply reject one side of his history. He must learn to live with it. His resilience grows from the willingness to accept his fragmented identity. He does not heal by erasing the past. He heals by integrating it, acknowledging his story, while rebuilding his sense of self. Flame Princess embodies balance between emotion and power. Her fire reflects her feelings, which makes emotional harmony essential for stability. She must learn to balance her anger with empathy, her independence with leadership, and her intensity with patience. Her resilience emerges when she masters this internal equilibrium. She learns that fire can destroy or illuminate depending on how she wields it. This balance makes her a strong leader, capable of breaking destructive patterns inherited from her parent while forging a new path built on fairness and clarity. Across U, characters face contradictions that shape their daily lives. The Candy Kingdom looks cheerful and whimsical, yet it requires serious governance and vigilance. The Fire Kingdom is associated with destruction, yet it contains warmth, camaraderie, and potential for political reform. Forest dwellers balance tradition with adaptation. Cosmic beings navigate the tension between immense power and quiet humility. The diversity of U reflects a larger truth. Resilience thrives where contradictions coexist. Magic itself embodies contradiction. It is powerful yet unpredictable, beautiful yet dangerous. Characters must learn to approach magic with respect rather than fear or blind confidence. This balanced perspective helps them use magic wisely. Peppermint Butler understands the necessity of balance better than most. Her knowledge of dark magic requires her to walk a careful line between curiosity and responsibility. Her resilience grows because she maintains harmony between these opposing impulses. Relationships in OO also depend on balance. Forgiveness and accountability must coexist. Independence and connection must coexist. Vulnerability and strength must coexist. When characters learn to hold these pairs together, their relationships deepen. Finn and Jake balance closeness with space, allowing their bond to remain strong without becoming restrictive. PB and Marceline balance emotional history with new understanding. Even secondary relationships, like those between Jake and his children, depend on harmony between guidance and freedom. Adventure Time reveals that balance is not about eliminating conflict, it is about navigating conflict with self-awareness. Characters become resilient when they acknowledge contradictions within themselves and their world. They learn that inner balance requires accepting parts of the self that once seemed incompatible. Nature in OO reflects this theme. The land shifts between serenity and danger. Plants grow on ruins. Light and shadow mingle in forests. Magic flows unpredictably. Instead of resisting these contrasts, the world embraces them. This natural balance teaches characters that life contains multitudes. When they mirror this acceptance, their resilience deepens. Even the multiverse reinforces the theme of balance. Some universes lean toward chaos, others toward order. Some reflect joy, others sorrow. These variations reveal that existence contains infinite possibilities and contradictions. Characters learn resilience by accepting that their world is just one expression among many. This perspective helps them trust in their ability to adapt when reality changes. Balance also shapes emotional resilience. When characters accept their feelings without letting any single emotion dominate, they navigate life more steadily. Finn learns to balance excitement with caution. Marceline balances sadness with humour. PB balances determination with empathy. Even characters who appear one-dimensional at first, like Lumpy Space Princess or Tree Trunks, reveal moments of emotional complexity that show their underlying balance. Adventure Time teaches that imbalance is natural, but the effort to regain harmony is a sign of resilience. Characters wobble, falter, and sometimes collapse, but they return again and again to the practice of finding their center. This ongoing effort builds a stability that cannot be shaken easily. Holding contradictions becomes one of the deepest strengths in the series. Characters who embrace their complexities become wiser, kinder, and more capable of facing uncertainty. They learn that contradictions are not flaws, they are facets of a full life. Resilience emerges from honoring all parts of the self, not just the comfortable ones. The world of OO shows that harmony is not perfection. It is a living balance that changes with each moment. Characters experience joy and sorrow, hope and fear, strength and vulnerability. Resilience grows through the ability to move with these shifts rather than resist them. When characters accept that their identities, relationships, and world contain contradictions, they gain the flexibility to endure. Through this theme, Adventure Time reveals that resilience is not simply the ability to stand strong. It is the ability to maintain equilibrium while navigating life's complexities. Balance becomes a quiet strength that allows characters to face uncertainty with grace. Harmony becomes a form of wisdom that helps them understand themselves and others. Holding contradictions becomes an act of courage that supports growth across time. In Adventure Time, hope is rarely loud or dramatic. It lives in small gestures, steady trust, gentle reassurance, and the simple act of believing that tomorrow can hold something better than today. U is a world shaped by catastrophe, magic, unpredictability, and centuries of transformation. Yet within this shifting landscape, hope persists as a quiet strength that helps characters endure. Hope is not naive positivity. It is a thoughtful commitment to continue looking forward even when the past feels heavy or the present feels uncertain. Through this lens, hope becomes a powerful form of resilience. Adventure Time portrays hope as a practice, not an emotion that arrives fully formed. Characters nurture hope through connection, curiosity, play, reflection, and care. They build hope slowly, allowing it to grow through experience and trust. The world's unpredictability makes this practice even more meaningful. Hope in U is not based on certainty. It is based on belief in possibility. Finn's journey demonstrates hope as an anchor for resilience. Even as he matures and confronts more complex realities, Finn retains a fundamental belief that goodness can grow from hardship. This hope does not erase his pain or confusion, but it helps him persevere. When he faces setbacks, he continues moving forward because he believes that his actions still matter. He trusts that he can learn, improve, and bring positive change to the world. This earnest optimism shapes his resilience. It keeps him grounded even when life feels uncertain. As Finn grows older, his hope becomes wiser. It shifts from simple heroism to a deeper understanding that hope requires patience, empathy, and openness. He learns that he cannot fix every problem or save every situation, but he can maintain an attitude that supports healing and connection. His hope becomes quiet confidence in himself and others. This faith in the future sustains him through heartbreak, moral complexity, and personal growth. Jake's hope manifests through his relaxed philosophy. His optimism is not rooted in conscious effort. It emerges naturally from his worldview. Jake believes that things will work out, even if the path is unclear. His hope is gentle and steady, woven into his ability to live in the moment. This trust helps him remain resilient during chaos and conflict. He faces challenges with humor, patience, and creativity because he believes that difficulties are temporary and solutions will eventually appear. Jake's hopeful perspective also supports others. Finn often draws strength from Jake's calm certainty. Their relationship shows how hope can be shared. When one character feels lost, the other offers reassurance. This mutual reinforcement creates a resilient bond shaped by shared optimism. Princess Bubblegum's hope takes on a more structural form. As a leader, she must envision futures that her people cannot yet see. Her hope is rooted in science, innovation, and long-term thinking. She believes that through effort and ingenuity, she can build a safer and more stable world. This belief drives her to rebuild the Candy Kingdom repeatedly, improve her technologies, and maintain order during chaotic times. Her hope is not fanciful. It is grounded in her understanding of what is possible when people work together. Yet PB's hope also evolves emotionally. As she reconnects with loved ones and grows more introspective, she learns that hope is not only about engineering a better future, it is also about trusting others and believing in the resilience of relationships. Her hope becomes more balanced as she allows herself to imagine futures shaped by emotional connection as much as scientific progress. Marceline's relationship with hope is shaped by her long history. After living through the collapse of the old world and surviving centuries of change, she has experienced more loss than most characters. Because of this, hope does not come easily to her. It is something she learns slowly, through connection and creativity. Her music becomes a space where she processes pain and gradually rediscovers hope. She expresses vulnerability through her songs, which helps her recover pieces of herself that were once buried. Marceline's hope grows through trust. Her friendship and later partnership with PB teaches her that love can survive conflict, time, and change. Her bond with Finn reminds her that companionship can be simple and sincere. Over time, she discovers that hope is not a denial of her past wounds. It is the recognition that joy can still emerge in spite of them. Her resilience grows through this gentler form of hope, shaped by emotional renewal. Bimo's hope is expressed through imagination. Bimo sees possibility everywhere, transforming ordinary moments into playful adventures. This imaginative hope helps Bimo navigate confusion, loneliness, or uncertainty. Instead of collapsing under difficulty, Bimo reimagines situations in ways that reveal new directions. This approach offers resilience by turning fear into curiosity and sadness into creativity. Bimo's hope is innocent yet powerful. It teaches others that optimism does not require ignoring reality. It requires the willingness to engage with it creatively. As part of Finn and Jake's household, Bimo also spreads hope to others. Its imaginative games often lift the emotional atmosphere, reminding characters that wonder still exists even in difficult moments. Bimo demonstrates resilience through joyful interpretation of the world, showing that hope can be built through play. Simon Petrikov's hope is fragile, yet deeply human. After regaining himself, he faces heavy emotional consequences. He wrestles with guilt, confusion, and the sense that he no longer fits neatly into the world he once knew. Hope becomes difficult for him because his past has left scars that cannot be undone. Yet he continues seeking meaning. He accepts help, engages with those who care for him, and allows himself to experience small moments of connection. This quiet persistence reveals a resilient form of hope. Simon does not expect a perfect future. He simply believes in the possibility of one that includes healing and companionship. Simon's hope is not dramatic. It is soft, cautious, and grounded in everyday gestures. His resilience grows as he allows himself to imagine a future shaped, not by past suffering, but by present possibility. This journey shows that hope does not need to be loud to be strong. Flame Princess holds a hope shaped by independence and transformation. After escaping the control of her father, she begins building a new identity and a new political structure. Her hope is rooted in the belief that she can lead differently from those who came before her. She trusts that her fire, once feared as destructive, can become a force for political change and personal growth. Her hope shapes her resilience by giving her a vision of the world she wants to create. This vision empowers her to confront difficult emotions and navigate the complexities of leadership. Communities throughout U also display resilience through hope. The Candy Kingdom rebuilds repeatedly because its citizens trust in the stability PB provides. Their collective hope fuels unity during crises. The Fire Kingdom transforms under Flame Princess's leadership because people believe in new possibilities. Even small communities, such as forest dwellers or magical beings, maintain hope through tradition and connection. Their hopeful resilience shapes the social fabric of U, reinforcing the idea that hope becomes stronger when shared. Hope also influences the emotional landscape of relationships. Characters find strength in imagining futures together. Finn and Jake dream up adventures. Marceline and PB imagine a life free from old misunderstandings. Jake imagines the futures of his children, with pride and tenderness. These shared visions help characters endure uncertainty because they anchor them in connection and possibility. Adventure Time also portrays hope through the way characters handle conflict. When disagreements arise, there is a consistent belief that reconciliation is possible. Characters apologize, reflect, repair, and grow. This ability to restore bonds stems from hope that relationships can evolve rather than break permanently. This hopeful resilience strengthens friendships and ensures that conflict becomes an opportunity for growth rather than division. Even the natural world reflects hope. Plants regrow after destruction. Magic returns after disruption. Kingdoms rise from the ruins of old structures. The land itself embodies renewal, encouraging characters to see hope not as blind optimism, but as a natural part of existence. This environmental rhythm reinforces the belief that life continues beyond catastrophe. Hope in U is also tied to imagination. Characters envision futures filled with potential. They dream of change, harmony, adventure, or healing. These dreams become internal beacons that guide them through turmoil. Even when dreams shift or dissolve, new ones emerge. This ongoing cycle of imaginative hope creates resilience that keeps characters oriented toward growth. Hope does not erase pain. Adventure Time does not shy away from showing sorrow, grief, or difficulty, but it does show that hope helps characters carry their pain with dignity. It offers direction and purpose, helping them avoid being swallowed by despair. Through hope, they learn to trust that new experiences, relationships, and possibilities await them. In U, resilience through hope is not about forcing positivity. It is about recognizing that life contains possibilities worth pursuing. It is about trusting that the future can hold healing even when the present hurts. It is about sharing optimism with others and allowing their optimism to nourish one's own spirit. Adventure Time teaches that hope is a practice sustained by relationships, creativity, responsibility, vulnerability, and discovery. Characters build resilience by cultivating hope in small moments, not grand declarations. Through gentle courage and steady faith in the future, they learn that resilience grows strongest when the heart remains open to possibility. Identity in Adventure Time is not a fixed state. It is a shifting landscape shaped by memory, experience, desire, and transformation. Characters do not begin life knowing exactly who they are. They discover themselves gradually, sometimes painfully, sometimes joyfully, and often unexpectedly. This ongoing process of self-discovery becomes a central source of resilience. Through the courage to examine identity and allow it to evolve, characters build inner strength that helps them navigate the ever-changing world of U. Adventure Time presents identity as fluid. Characters grow into themselves by confronting layers of emotion, history, and possibility. They question their beliefs, expand their understanding, and sometimes reinvent themselves entirely. This flexibility gives them resilience because it prevents stagnation. When identity becomes a living process rather than a rigid definition, characters gain the ability to adapt to new challenges without losing themselves. They find resilience not in preserving an old version of themselves, but in embracing the growth that comes with change. Finn's journey embodies this theme clearly. He begins with a straightforward understanding of who he is. He sees himself as a hero, a bringer of justice, a protector of the innocent. This identity shapes his early worldview and motivates his actions. Yet as he matures, he encounters experiences that challenge these simple roles. He discovers emotional complexity, moral ambiguity, and the realization that heroism is not a single path. These new understandings force him to re-evaluate his identity. Finn's resilience emerges from his willingness to let his sense of self evolve. He allows himself to feel uncertainty, to question motives, to examine mistakes, and to recognize that he is more than one role. His identity expands beyond heroism. It becomes rooted in curiosity, compassion, and a deeper understanding of himself. Each time he sheds an outdated idea of who he should be, he grows more resilient because he is no longer reliant on rigid expectations. He becomes capable of facing life's complexities with an authentic sense of self. Jake's identity is shaped by his intuitive and flexible nature. His magical abilities allow him to shift shape at will, and this physical flexibility mirrors his internal identity. Jake embraces different roles with ease. He becomes a friend, a partner, a father, a mentor, and a wanderer. Instead of clinging to one identity, he allows life's rhythms to guide him. This openness gives him a calm form of resilience. Because he does not fear change, he adapts easily to new phases of life. Yet Jake's identity is not without its challenges. He occasionally questions his maturity or wonders whether his relaxed nature undermines his responsibilities. These moments reveal that identity is not always stable. But Jake's resilience arises from the trust he places in his own adaptability. He believes that no matter what role he steps into, he can navigate it with creativity and sincerity. This confidence in his evolving identity allows him to handle uncertainty without fear. Princess Bubblegum's identity is shaped by intellect, leadership, and the weight of history. She begins with a clear understanding of herself as a ruler and guardian of the Candy Kingdom. Yet her experiences gradually lead her to question what defines her. Her scientific mind provides one part of her identity, but her emotional life provides another. She learns that leadership does not fully capture who she is. She is also a friend, a loved one, an explorer, and an evolving person shaped by centuries of decisions. PB's resilience grows as she allows herself to embrace identities beyond her role as ruler. When she reflects on her actions, she discovers that self-understanding is essential to responsible leadership. Her identity evolves as she learns to balance logic with compassion, authority with vulnerability. Through this process, she becomes more resilient because she no longer relies solely on her position to define her worth. She learns to acknowledge her humanity, and this recognition strengthens her. Marceline's identity is perhaps the most layered and complex in the series. She has lived through eras that left marks on her psyche. Her identity is shaped by her lineage, her relationships, her losses, and her immense lifespan. For much of her life, she struggles to reconcile these pieces. She questions who she is in relation to her past. She fears being misunderstood or abandoned. She experiments with different expressions of identity, from rebellious independence to emotional introspection. Marceline's resilience emerges through the courage to confront these layers. She examines memories that once haunted her. She allows herself to love and be loved, even when vulnerability feels risky. She discovers a sense of self that includes both strength and sensitivity. Her identity evolves as she learns to accept her past while embracing her present. Through this process, she becomes resilient because she grounds herself in truth rather than hiding behind old defenses. Simon Petrikov's identity is shaped by one of the most dramatic transformations in the series. For years, his identity was overtaken by the crown, leaving him fragmented and lost. When he regains his true self, he must confront a profound identity crisis. He remembers pieces of his former life, but the world around him has changed. People know him in ways he cannot reconcile. His identity becomes a delicate puzzle filled with missing pieces, sharp edges, and unfamiliar shapes. Simon's resilience arises from his willingness to rebuild himself. He seeks understanding, reaches out to others, and accepts help when he feels uncertain. He does not force himself to return to who he once was, because he knows that identity cannot be reclaimed from memory alone. Instead, he learns to navigate his present self, acknowledging both the pain and the possibility within him. His resilience grows from the quiet courage of starting over. Flame Princess's identity is shaped by her elemental nature, her upbringing, and her emotional evolution. She begins with an identity tangled in volatility and external expectations. Her flames erupt with her emotions, and this connection to fire shapes how others perceive her. Yet she learns that identity is not defined solely by origin or power. She discovers political capability, emotional depth, empathy, and independence. She questions her father's influence, reshapes her role in the Fire Kingdom, and builds an identity that reflects her choices rather than her inheritance. Her resilience emerges from her ability to redefine herself. Instead of accepting labels placed upon her, she constructs a new path. She challenges assumptions, builds her own moral framework, and adapts to new forms of connection. Through this evolution, she becomes strong not in spite of her identity, but because she reshapes it. Bemo's identity centers on imagination and self-defined meaning. Bemo is a living machine, but refuses to let that limit self-understanding. Through stories, games, and playful exploration, Bemo constructs identity from experiences and creativity. This self-expression reflects a deep form of resilience. Bemo does not require external validation to define who it is. Instead, Bemo builds meaning internally, discovering identity through joy and curiosity. This process demonstrates that resilience can emerge from a playful and imaginative understanding of the self. Identity also shapes the relationships between characters. When individuals grow, their connections adapt. PB and Marceline reconnect through their evolving identities. Finn and Jake deepen their bond through shared self-discovery. Relationships become spaces where characters test and express identity safely. These interactions provide emotional scaffolding for resilience. When characters feel seen and understood, they gain strength to explore who they are without fear. Oo itself presents identity as fluid across species, magic, and social structures. Candy people, fire beings, magical entities, and even cosmic beings express identities shaped by their environments. Some creatures evolve physically over time, others transform through magic. Identity becomes a dynamic process woven into the natural order. This world teaches that resilience requires adapting identity as circumstances shift. Magic complicates identity further. Artifacts, spells, and supernatural forces can alter memories, appearances, or emotions. Characters who encounter these changes must reassess who they are. These experiences reinforce the idea that identity must remain flexible. When characters allow themselves to grow beyond altered states or external influence, they develop resilience grounded in self-exploration. Adventure Time teaches that identity is not something discovered once and held permanently. It is something rediscovered again and again through changing seasons of life. Each new challenge, relationship, or loss presents an opportunity to understand the self more deeply. This continuous process of exploration becomes a foundation for resilience. Characters who embrace evolving identities become capable of navigating complexity with confidence. Resilience grows when characters accept that they are not defined by past mistakes or rigid expectations. They learn to see identity as a living story, one that can be rewritten as they gain new wisdom. This perspective helps them remain open to transformation, preventing them from becoming trapped in outdated versions of themselves. Identity also shapes how characters process emotion. When they understand themselves more clearly, they navigate feelings with greater resilience. Finn confronts heartbreak with self-reflection. Marceline processes centuries of emotion through music. PB navigates responsibility through self-awareness. Bimo explores identity through imagination. Each character uses self-understanding as a tool to face emotional difficulty. Resilience through identity also emerges in moments of solitude. Characters often confront themselves most honestly when alone. These contemplative moments help them recognize patterns, desires, and fears. By acknowledging these truths, they grow stronger. Self-knowledge becomes a shield against confusion and a compass for future choices. Adventure Time presents identity not as a destination, but as a journey that fosters resilience. Characters discover themselves through joy, pain, curiosity, creativity, grief, and connection. They learn that identity is neither fixed nor fragile. It is flexible enough to adapt, strong enough to endure, and open enough to grow. Through self-discovery, characters gain the resilience needed to face uncertainty. They trust themselves, communicate with others, repair past harm, and pursue authentic lives. Their evolving identities become sources of wisdom and strength. This ongoing process reveals that resilience is ultimately a form of self-acceptance, shaped by the courage to become who one truly is. Resilience in Adventure Time is not a single lesson learned by a single character. It is the unifying thread woven through every kingdom, every relationship, every transformation, and every quiet moment in Oo. Across all the journeys, conflicts, discoveries, and emotional evolutions explored so far, the series reveals resilience as something deeper than survival or strength. It is a way of being, a lifelong practice shaped by connection, growth, compassion, and imagination. It is the gentle truth that life continues, even when it changes in ways we never expected. It is the understanding that healing does not erase the past, but carries it with grace. It is the belief that identity is allowed to shift, relationships are allowed to bend, and futures are allowed to unfold unpredictably. To bring together every layer of resilience explored in earlier chapters, this final look at Oo's emotional landscape takes on a wider view, showing how the entire world becomes a living example of endurance shaped by heart and spirit. Each character contributes a different piece of this mosaic, yet all these pieces form a single message. Resilience is not a trait. It is the soul of Adventure Time itself. The world of Oo was born from devastation. Every river, mountain, and magical distortion is shaped by a past that most of its inhabitants never lived through. Yet the world did not remain broken. Nature filled abandoned spaces. Magic blossomed where machines rusted. Life re-emerged through playfulness and wonder. This resilience is the foundation upon which all stories in Adventure Time unfold. The land teaches its people, through its very existence, that renewal is always possible, even when born from ruin. Finn and Jake grow up surrounded by this lesson. Their home is built within a world that has already survived unimaginable loss. Yet Oo does not mourn endlessly. It thrives. This thriving becomes the backdrop of their own journeys, showing them that resilience is not a matter of resisting change, but of participating in it. They watch kingdoms rebuild, friendships reform, and landscapes regenerate. Their worldview forms around the understanding that life can be unpredictable, painful, joyful, and absurd, sometimes all in the same moment. The resilience of the land becomes the quiet teacher that shapes their emotional paths. Finn internalizes this truth most clearly. He begins life eager to define himself through action, believing that resilience means being brave, strong, and unwavering. But as he grows, he learns that resilience is more tender and complex. It includes acknowledging confusion, expressing vulnerability, examining identity, and accepting that not all problems have clear solutions. He learns resilience through heartbreak and forgiveness, through shifts in friendships, through the gradual acceptance that being a hero is more about compassion than victory. Finn becomes a symbol of resilience, not because he wins every battle, but because he grows from every experience. He holds on to his inherent sense of goodness even when the world challenges it. He adapts to emotional truths that once frightened him. He becomes resilient by staying open, even when openness hurts. In this way, he reflects the spirit of U. Endurance is not resistance. Endurance is transformation. Jake's resilience flows from his emotional fluidity. His magical flexibility mirrors his internal adaptability. He approaches life with humor and ease, yet he meets serious moments with sincerity and care. Jake shows that resilience does not always require intensity. Sometimes it comes from remaining steady, loving, and open-minded. His belief that things will work out does not exist because he ignores difficulty. It exists because he trusts in the capacity of people to grow, relationships to recover, and life to find its rhythm again. Jake's relationships deepen this resilience. His partnership with Lady Rainicorn, his bond with his children, and his loyalty to Finn all require presence and adaptability. Through each stage of life, he learns to meet change with grace rather than fear. His resilience becomes a form of emotional grounding that touches every character close to him. Princess Bubblegum reveals resilience through responsibility, evolution, and acknowledgement of her own complexity. She learns that strength is not achieved by controlling every outcome, but by knowing when to trust, when to listen, and when to allow herself to be vulnerable. PB's long life gives her many opportunities to reflect on mistakes, adjust her approach, and rebuild herself emotionally. Her resilience emerges from the integration of reason and compassion. She balances her scientific brilliance with her evolving emotional insight. This balanced resilience helps her become a leader who protects her people not through force, but through unity. Marceline embodies resilience shaped by history and healing. Her centuries of experiences, marked by loneliness, loss, humour, and love, teach her that resilience is not the absence of emotional pain, but the ability to express it without letting it define her forever. Through music, she transforms sorrow into art, turning vulnerability into strength. Through relationships, she discovers that trust is possible even after centuries of fear. Through growth, she reveals that resilience thrives in honesty. Marceline's resilience is perhaps the most emotional. She reminds the world that carrying scars does not make someone weak, it gives them depth. Her journey demonstrates that healing is continuous, and that resilience is found not in suppressing feelings, but in letting them move through her like the music she creates. Simon Petrikov's arc reinforces one of the most profound truths about resilience. It is not glamorous. It is not swift. It does not always feel triumphant. Sometimes resilience is the willingness to get up in the morning, to talk to someone when you feel broken, to continue living even when memories press against your heart. Simon shows resilience through acceptance, through the fragile bravery of rebuilding a life after losing so much. His resilience is the quiet kind that many people overlook, yet it is among the most meaningful. He teaches that resilience is not about returning to who you once were, but about finding a way to move forward as who you are now. Bimo offers a different kind of resilience, one rooted in imagination, joy, and the ability to create meaning from play. Bimo treats the world not as a fixed place, but as a canvas. Its narratives, characters, and inner adventures reflect a truth that many adults forget. Creativity is a form of resilience. Through storytelling and self-expression, Bimo navigates emotions that might otherwise feel overwhelming. The resilience Bimo embodies is gentle, innocent, and profound. It shows that joy is a form of strength. Flame Princess represents resilience through self-definition and transformation. She refuses to let her inherited environment dictate her future. She confronts destructive patterns, reshapes political structures, and examines her emotions with courage. Her fire becomes a metaphor for her personal evolution. It can burn or illuminate depending on her inner balance. Through self-reflection and determined change, she becomes a leader who channels her intensity with purpose. Her resilience lies in her ability to build something new from a past formed by turmoil. Communities across U also express resilience. The Candy Kingdom rebuilds itself repeatedly because its people trust in one another and in their leader. The Fire Kingdom transforms because its citizens embrace new values. Forest dwellers maintain ancient traditions while adapting to modern changes. Magical beings navigate unpredictable forces with patience and cooperation. Every kingdom, every group, and every character contributes to the resilience of the world, reinforcing that survival is a shared effort. Magic underscores this theme. It shifts constantly, presenting challenges and possibilities. Instead of resisting magic's unpredictability, characters learn to move with it. This acceptance becomes another form of resilience. It shows that life's mysterious forces can be faced with adaptability rather than fear. The multiverse also expands the concept of resilience. It reveals that countless variations of each character exist, each shaped by different circumstances. This cosmic perspective suggests that resilience is not tied to a single outcome. It is tied to the capacity for growth across any reality. The existence of multiple versions of life reinforces a comforting truth. There are always more possibilities than we can see. Resilience emerges from trusting in these possibilities, even when the path forward is unclear. Relationships further demonstrate resilience through enduring affection, repaired bonds, mutual growth, and shared memory. Finn and Jake anchor each other through life's phases. PB and Marceline rebuild a connection once strained by time and misunderstanding. Families embrace change without losing love. Friendships shift, reform, and deepen. These relationships show that resilience is not only internal, it is communal. It is something people build together. Storytelling, as explored in the previous chapter, threads all these elements into meaning. Through stories, characters interpret their lives, pass on wisdom, and understand themselves more clearly. Storytelling turns fragmented emotion into a coherent journey, reinforcing resilience by giving shape to experience. These narratives, personal and collective, become the emotional backbone of U. Taken together, all of these themes show that resilience is not an isolated quality possessed by a few. It is the essence of U. It is the way the land survived catastrophe. It is the way characters navigate identity, connection, loss, and growth. It is the way relationships endure. It is the way magic fluctuates without breaking the world. It is the way communities rebuild. It is the way memories evolve but remain cherished. Adventure Time reveals that resilience is a gentle force. It is not defined by stoicism, perfection, or emotional hardness. It is defined by openness, adaptability, and the willingness to keep living through each new chapter. It is shaped by love, imagination, vulnerability, forgiveness, curiosity, and hope. This final perspective shows that resilience is the heart of Adventure Time. Every character contributes to this truth. Every story reinforces it. Every moment, loud or quiet, reveals that life is strongest when it remains flexible, compassionate, connected, and willing to grow. Through this lens, U is not only a magical world, it is a world of enduring spirit.